आणि पीपीटी झालाय 2 मिनिटं म्हणजे. Very good afternoon to one and all. Let us begin for our second plenary session. We are privileged to have with us the speaker for this session, Dr. Kumar Suresh, Professor, Department of Educational Administration, National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, to deliver a talk on topic community participation in higher education. To chair this session, we have with us Dr. Sanjay Kavishwar, Dean, Commerce and Management, RTM NU. I consider it a great honor to welcome Dr. Kavishwar sir and Dr. Kumar Suresh sir to please come on the dais. I kindly request Dr. Veena Velgamwar ma'am to welcome Kavishwar sir by presenting a sapling. Fast कर. Now I request Dr. Kavishwar sir to welcome Dr. Kumar Suresh sir by presenting a sapling. It's my privilege to introduce the chair for this session, Dr. Kavishwar sir. Dr. Kavishwar sir is Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management at Rashtrasanta Tukadoji Maharaj, Nagpur University. He has an additional charge of Finance and Accounts Officer, Rashtrasanta Tukadoji Maharaj, Nagpur University. He has total experience of 28 years. Sir did PhD in Business Economics in Faculty of Commerce from RTMNU and MBA from Yashwantrao Chauhan Maharashtra Open University, Nasik. He was professor and dean at academics at Tirpude Institute of Management Education, Nagpur. To his credit, he has completed 2 research projects, published 30 research papers in international and national journals of repute, authored and co-edited several books, organized national and international conferences. He has achieved the milestone that is, sir have been instrumental in introducing UG program in 2005 as backward integration process. This has increased student strength of the institute from 120 to 1,400 in a period of 6 years and revenue budget from rupees 36 lakhs to rupees 6 crores in a period of 8 years. His notable achievements are acted as a resource person for training programs organized by National Sample Survey Organization and National Academy of Defense Production. Elected as chairman of Board of Studies in Business Administration and Business Management in RTM NU Nagpur. Acted as a member of Perspective Plan Committee of RTM Nagpur University. Acting as a member Management Council RTM Nagpur University. Acting as a member Academic Council of RTM Nagpur University, acting as a member of Board of Management of Datta Meghe Institute of Management Studies, Autonomous Institute, Nagpur. On behalf of organizing committee, I welcome Dr. Sanjay Kavishwar sir to chair this session. Now I request Kavishwar sir to introduce the speaker. Please, sir.
A very good afternoon to one and all present over here. At the outset, I welcome distinguished speaker for this session, Professor Kumar Suresh, and it is indeed my pleasure to introduce such an eminent personality to this august audience. Professor Kumar Suresh is a professor and head at Department of Educational Administration at the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, New Delhi. His areas of specialization includes education administration and management, educational federalism, decentralization and multi-level governance of educational system, policy process and governance, multiculturalism, inclusive policies and diversity management, etc. A plenty of credit papers and research students, successful research students are to his credit. He has guided a number of research students for pursuing MPhil as well as PhD programs. A wide range of publications are to his credit, which includes books, monographs, research papers in journals and edited volumes, policy papers, and review articles. In terms of academic and administrative leadership, he has been serving as head of the department, also served as registrar in charge for more than 2 years and took number of initiatives for improving governance of the institution. As a head of the department, he is heading two major projects and activities of NIEPA. The first one relates to All India Survey of Educational Administration, and the second one is the scheme of national awards for innovations and good practices in educational administration. He is working or has been working as editor or member of editorial boards of more than 5 journals, which includes Journal of International Cooperation and Education, Education in India, a quarterly refereed journal of dialogues on education, Journal Research and Reflections in Education, Paripreksha, and Jamia Journal of Education. He is also an editor of NIEPA occasional paper series. There are a lot of awards and distinctions to his credit. Among other distinctive academic achievements, he is having a distinction of being awarded Summa Cum Laude, high distinction in the course of decentralization and governance at the Institute of Federalism, University of Freiburg, Switzerland. In recognition of his academic standing and contribution, Professor Kumar Suresh has been appointed as honorary professor in the Central University of Kerala. He has a lot of international collaborations to his credit. He has been associated with different national and international programs. He has also visited different countries in international collaborative programs, which includes Switzerland, Canada, Serbia, etc. Professor Kumar Suresh is a member of Asia Pacific Network of Researchers of UNESCO. He has also contributed and prepared report on India in a multi-country research study on high stakes examinations and its impact on youth in Asia Pacific region, which includes South Korea, Japan, Philippines, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Tango, Fiji, etc. He is also a member of Africa Asia Development Research Network of Institutions. He is a leading AAD networks webinar series in as well as research group on impact of COVID-19 on education in African Asian countries. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And we are indeed looking forward to listen to man of such an eminence. And especially when we are at crossroads, Indian higher education system is at crossroads. When we are looking forward for effective implementation of NEP, a person having this kind of background in educational administration will definitely be able to give us some relevant and meaningful insights. So we are looking forward it. You're most welcome, sir. It's over to you. Thank you so much.
Namaskar. At the outset, with the permission of the chair, at the outset, I thank the university for providing me this opportunity to interact with colleagues from different institutions in Maharashtra. I came to know that many faculty members are also connected through online mode. While I mean very extensive introduction, though I was asked to share the CV, so I just brief CV I shared with this, but I was not intending to get introduced that way. In fact, I'm talking to our own colleagues. And if I am talking to fraternity of academic, definitely the point of reference could be slightly different from in a forum which we discuss either at the international forum or with the administrators who are part of the state government system. All of us faculty members working in different capacities in different institutions. Now the national education policy, of course, here, and one of the major challenges, I mean, among others, how to implement the policy, how to carve a space. Just since morning, I was also following some of this, discussion which were already going on. We have been closely associated with the policy process. I would not just say outcome, the entire policy process. We know that what kind of difficulties are there. We have also produced a document, implementation strategy on some 13 items, how to go ahead with this. Madam was just asking about multidisciplinary, say, and holistic education. Series of programs we conducted on this. So starting with this, of course, my topic is very limited to community participation in higher education, so I stick to that. But before coming to the topic, it is also important for us to share our experience of, this whole policy process, as well as thematic addressal of issue of interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, and transdisciplinarity. Really, really very disturbing to us that even a part of academic, we are not very clear what these words stand for. And without realizing the fact that it may have important implication for our understanding, we also take a view, and that is very ignorant way of, say, interacting on such themes. If I'm not aware about this, I should not venture to enter into that exercise. So that is one. Of course, I'm not going into that terminological specificity, but one before, since this is also an occasion, and many colleagues may be also looking for that kind of, say, you ask about case study. There are a number of this. It is not that just joint degree program will be, say, addressing the issue of multidisciplinarity. It is not. In fact, in other countries, there are a number of examples of multidisciplinary study. For example, MIT. MIT has introduced, and one of the bachelor courses is a bachelor course in science, technology, and foreign affairs. Can you imagine about a bachelor degree in science, BSc in science, with science, technology, and foreign affairs? There are three different, say, disciplines being brought together. So that is one. Similarly, Australian University, Charles University, there is also a similar kind of course they have introduced at the bachelor level. And this is, happening across the globe. In our case, we should not be very, very apologetic that we have not introduced any multidisciplinary centers or multidisciplinary course. It is perhaps our ignorance if we have not paid attention to that. We have number of interdisciplinary programs. Of course, there are difficulty is implementing that. One is, of course, development studies. Just one example. Development studies not restricted to, say, economics. Faculty from different disciplines like sociology, political science, economics, commerce, and many disciplines, they come together and they explore the whole idea of development. Our own institution, National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, of course, we work on with the support of the ministry, and we support the ministry also, Ministry of Education, Government of India. But our faculty colleagues are from education, sociology, political science, chemistry, and economics, history. All of us, representing different disciplines, but we are working together. And we are also putting in our disciplinary perspective and producing a knowledge which requires, multidisciplinary perspective rather than just education. If education person is just approaching the idea of policy and planning, it may be very, very limited view of approaching the whole idea of education. And therefore, if I've been trained in the say discipline of sociology or for political science or any, definitely I may have my own understanding. We come together, we bring together our own disciplinary perspective, not as a limiting kind of exercise, rather enabling exercise. So this is just one example in this regard. Similarly, women study centers. Women study centers, not, where is the discipline called women study? There is no discipline per se. So people from history, geography, and others, they come together, they explore the whole issue of women. How this issue of women could be approached from. This is another example. Third example would be area study centers. I do not know whether Nagpur is having area study center or not, but Mumbai University is having one. In area study centers, again, that is initiative of the University Grants Commission, not late 70s, it started this. So areas are selected, for example, East Asia. So if it is being studied, East Asia is being studied, it is not just about politics. International relations and politics could be one. It would be also science technology. It could be also philosophy. It is also literature. What kind of literature is existing? What is the language? So different disciplines are coming together. The problem lies here that we in our own policy circle, what we have created a boundary, and now we are going back to the same exercise. We have created a boundary that if a person has done in development study, which department will be appointed as an assistant professor. That is a difficulty. If you just scroll down the UGC, say, NET examination, there is no subject, like development studies or women study centers and others, or for that example, human rights. These are the courses started, master program also started. This is a problem. Now the national education policy is talking about a shift, paradigmatic shift from our traditional understanding about the whole education system, and it is talking about flexible learning path. Flexible learning path, it is talking about credit transfer. It is talking about academic bank of credit. So we already work on that, academic bank of credit and credit transfer framework. Our institution was the secretariat of the ministry, and many directors have worked on that. We have submitted the report to the ministry. Ministry is working on this along with UGC, and all the university will be there. Now it is not that 50% credit. If I have to acquire a degree in science, it is not that 50% art and music. It may not serve the purpose. So at least 20-25% credit could be transferred from this course to another course. So that is one. But there are many other issues during question answer. I would I would like to take up these issues. Since I have been asked or requested to approach the whole idea of community participation in higher education. There are four important issues I would like to take up here. First, I'm starting with the question. Why do we need to talk about community participation or community engagement of a university? What is the reason? It means there is something problematic or problem with us. Perhaps we have not been able to engage deeply with the community. So perhaps one assumption or one inference could be drawn that there is complete disconnect between the university system and community. Community is not getting represented in the university, or university is not. So what has happened? You might have, even in our writing, popular writing and literature, that is also, one point is, time and again highlighted, that now we are living in ivory towers. It means we have made ourselves irrelevant to the society. We have made ourselves irrelevant to the general mass. University, the purpose of university, if you just revisit the idea of university, The idea of university was not just a kind of enclosure, closed enclosure, wherein there is no a scope of interaction and there is no linkage with the society. That was not the purpose. The Humboldtian idea, which is considered German idea of university, which is considered as one of the first important idea initiated, and that was freedom of interaction, freedom of speech, unity between teacher and say a student, unity between teaching and research. And if it is unity and teacher in research, definitely you will translate into societal requirement, how it will be able to address societal needs. So that one inference it can be drawn. What has happened over the years, how we are now compelled to think about this community participation in higher education. It is not just India that we have started talking about. In fact, really a point to take pride that at least we thought, not now, but even in ancient past. And even now, since this is my area of work, so definitely during the last few decades, European nations, European Union, US, Australia, and others, they are deliberating on the whole idea of community participation in higher education or civic engagement of university or community engagement of university. Now they are talking about. But it is also surprising to discover here that even in 2011-12, I do not know how many of us are aware about this. That was also community say engagement. That was already, I'll come to this aspect a little later. So first question I'm posing for my own clarity and for thinking, how do you approach the whole idea of say community engagement? Second is, of course, global context of higher education and community participation. There I'll be talking about. Third, is there any possibility of measuring community engagement? I mean, university engagement with the community or civic engagement of university. Now, it is also subject to measurement. I mean, the Times Higher Education, we are talking about NAC now, and Times Higher Education has come up with its own metrics of measuring community engagement. That is known as impact measuring, impact ranking of universities. And I'll show how many universities. It is not Oxford, it is not Cambridge, it is not Harvard, it is not Stanford. Which are the universities which are figuring in that ranking? So that is third important component, which how much time, madam, I am having? Huh? So another, I suppose another 20 minutes or 25 minutes? Okay. Okay. So third component is, of course, about measuring community engagement and what is the global development that we should always be aware about. Now we are also, I mean, the entire reference of this whole deliberation is vis-a-vis NAC, because NAC is collaborator of this program. It means years to come, these will be the measures of, say, ranking. This will be also measures of, say, our assessment and measurement. If it is not now, definitely it will be coming very soon. Now we have started talking about, outcome-based curriculum. If we have started this discourse, I'm sure that in next 3 to 4 years, this will be a major point of our reference. And therefore, I'll try to touch upon this. Fourth component is about Indian context of community participation in higher education and civic engagement and social responsibilities of a university. That is what I intend to do. If we just start with the first question, I threw some light on the idea of university. The idea of university, three important generally, whenever we are referring to university, one is of course teaching. Now we have started talking about teaching intensive university, research intensive universities, or autonomous colleges. We have started talking in India. But globally, the idea of university has been weaved around three important purposes. First, its purpose of the university is teaching. Then knowledge generation, research and knowledge generation. And the knowledge generation of research is socially relevant. It is not that just I'm doing research isolated in isolated manner. It may happen. It may happen in a lab, which we are doing research. But that research in the long run, definitely it will impact the society. It will be for the benefit of society. And therefore, the social service is very, very important component or purpose of university. What has happened over the years, the university, this the whole idea of, say, university, somehow it has been missed. What we started teaching and, say, quantitative parameters, performance tracking of the institution at the global level. Now you have global ranking of universities, and the parameters which are being ranked entirely detached from the societal needs per se. Of course, here and there references are there, but even higher education, earlier ranking framework or QS ranking framework, these are not, paying that much, say, premium to the idea of engaging with the community or society, or for the benefit of society. So what has happened? Some kind of quantifiable parameters are informing the whole idea of university, which is resulting into a kind of disconnect between university and community. This disconnect between university and community is a problematic space. And this is now being realized across the world. I'm reminded of some 2 decades back experiences of US and UK. In this, what was happening, the rise of, say, extremist young groups, which are, indulging in violence. Some of we have also seen in our country, in the indulging in violence activities, intolerance, intolerance towards cultural difference, intolerance towards creating otherness. So it may be directed towards, if it is white population, towards colored people, it could be towards immigrant population in developed countries I'm referring to. So that created a lot of problem. And then they started questioning the whole idea of education, whether they have been able to address this issue through their own education system, or their education system is completely detached to the idea of community or the kind of development which is taking place. As a result, the entire project started in UK and USA, a project of civic learning. How can this civic learning can take place? It was also a realization of the fact that our university system or our institution, we have detached ourselves from the community. We are, say, producing good mathematician and mathematics, chemistry, or pure sciences, but we are not able to inculcate values of appreciation, values of valuing differences in those society. So a different curriculum framework they started, and they said that civic learning, and that the civic learning after 20 years that also got measured. What kind of learning among the children is taking place? That started with their school education. That yes, whether they are valuing their citizenship kind of thing. And citizenship is a broader category, not just as a political entitlement. It is also about inclusion. It is also about respecting difference. So this kind of rethinking started in these 2 countries and many others that in many European countries they started, because the problem in those cases were even severe than us, because we have lived here in India with difference. If you go from this place to another place, even 10 kilometers, differences you find. And we have lived with the differences. So this kind of problem was not that much acute in our case. And therefore, we have not paid to that. But they have realized the kind of education system they have developed over the years, perhaps there is a disconnection between society and university. That is one view. But also to the larger interest of the society, that is also realized. And it is just, I was going through the developmental literature, I could find that during the last, say, few decades, it started, one conference, UNESCO conference in 2009. The next slide is, okay, that is already there. So in this conference, it was already highlighted that yes, universities should engage with the community. Unless it is engaging with the community. So that was just flagging this aspect of community engagement of university. That was just. But later on, what has happened that over the years, number of, say, it is not moving. Okay. So that now it is moving. So now what has happened that at the global level, so at the global level, the discourse is already in place, which is talking about community, university and its community engagement. And over the, it is not necessary to go about each of the experiences of course, the PPT is here. You can share with all the participants, and those who are not even connected, they can take benefit of this. So I would not strictly going by this PPT per se, but main points I would like to highlight. So civic universities, idea of civic universities, that is, say, UK. Then fourth mission of university. Fourth mission especially being highlighted as civic engagement of university. These are new developments in the European cases. But if we just take, of course, it would be too, taking pride in the past. Our university system, ancient regime I'm referring to, the idea of university in our ancient regime, very much embedded with the societal life. The students in the university system, where they were immersed in the life of university, and of course, paying back to the society. That is idea which is say derived from our own historical past. But what has happened in our case that we have detached over the years, I recalled, especially during the last 2 decades, during the last 30 years of my teaching and research experience, so many things we have been listening to. One of the important points that there should be a close linkage between institution and industry. That is one. Second, that research should be funded by industry. So linkage, that is all extension. But why this all happening? Because perhaps we have not, align ourselves. It is not that the basic purpose of university or institution needs to be compromised. I strongly believe that basic purpose of the university is knowledge generation. And this purpose cannot be compromised only in the interest of market or industry. But it is also equally true that we have to also address some of the concerns which could lead to our industrial development or economic development, or now we can say that human development of a country. That should be definitely embedded in the entire teaching and research. But what has happened that over the years, 2 important conceptual categories I would like to bring to your, your understanding here. two words are, because I'm a critic of neoliberal reforms in higher education. Unfortunately, we are part of this. Any of you see what is happening in our university system, the head of department, I'm also, of course, we are in better position, but many institutions, I could see that only head of department and two regular faculty members are there. One regular faculty members are there. Some 15 years back, the department was having, say, 15 members. Now, 2-3 regular members and 2-3 guest faculty members. This is the status of say university. So I'm not going into that, but definitely what has happened that there are multiple challenges in the case. So at the global level, what has happened, realizing this disconnect between university and community across the globe, now emphasis is being put that linkage needs to be established. What will be the, linkage? So the different parameters already given over there. So if we say that what could be the point of reference of community participation, how it can be done? Of course, in following the slides which will follow this, they have already details that what are the areas wherein civic engagement could take place. So one is, of course, teaching, learning process and curriculum reform. So it is already being talked about. I talked about the experience of US and UK. They are talking about that civic learning should happen in the institution. Similarly, credited courses on community engagement. Different universities across the world, now they are starting or they have started the course, and those courses are already credit based. If a student is pursuing any that kind of course of engaging with the community, those activities would be credited and a student will be able to earn credit. We have not developed this kind of mechanism to get this credit in the account of a student. Weightage in admission, for example, in Western universities, weightage is also being given to a student who is having a credit in terms of engaging himself in different civic activities. You might have seen, and you may be also having your engineering college and other. Many IITs and premier engineering colleges, their students are also undertaking different activities related to community, and on the basis of this community they earn credit, and that helping getting admission there. So two students, if they are, for example, two Indian students are going to say MIT. So if a student is also having some kind of certificate that he has been closely associated with civic life of the people or community, he or she will get preference over the other who is maybe having very high academic credentials. So that is one difference. So this is also a kind of giving, say, premium to the idea of engaging the university with civic life or civic. But what are the drivers? It is also important to, what are the drivers of this whole idea of new discourse or new shift in our approach, global level, towards civic engagement? Changing context of higher education. Just I was trying to find the logic. Why we suddenly at the global level started talking about civic engagement, community engagement. It was also, a revealing fact that many universities, they already literature is suggesting that a different kind of situation different universities are subjected to. And the challenge is also, also lying in the market principle. Because earlier, all the universities were dependent on public funding. Mostly, I'm not talking about some of the premier institutions of USA like Stanford and Harvard and others, but most of the institutions publicly funded. Government funded or publicly funded. Now resource crunch and decline in public funding across the countries. This is a major reality. And even in one of the professors I was introducing, so I'm also part of one of the networks and all the developed countries. And they say that, no, perhaps the way we used to operate, it is not possible now because our government is also cutting funding for research. And therefore, so you can, if it can happen to a developed country, what will be the fate in other, say, post-colonial countries or developing countries? So that is one. So definitely, you cannot depend wholly on public funding of the institution. Then what is the alternative? So now being talked about civic universities, innovative universities, entrepreneurial universities, all these terminologies are coming in. The idea is that you involve the community maybe also referring to market. It is not just a state. It is not just about public. It is going beyond the public. So larger, say, force outside the state. It may be, say, industrialists and researchers. They may be funding your university, but terms of reference will be definitely changed. So neoliberal, reforms also in governance principle, wherein they will ask for performance tracking. Performance tracking, not that I'm an excellent teacher because I deliver lecture in the class and my students like me as an excellent teacher. That is not an end itself. How many papers I am publishing? What is the impact factor of my papers? Whether it is how much funding I am getting for my research. These will be the reference point. If earlier it was not this. I remember some of my teachers, excellent teachers, and they did not publish much. But if they enter in the class, continuously 2 hours lecturing in the class, and that was almost a kind of treat for us. We never, felt that, yes, 2 hours had passed. So this was quality, and the teacher was, idealized. He was almost worshipped on the basis of the quality teaching. This does not matter now. So the entire framework is changing. So this is also one of the important drivers of bringing this whole idea of engaging university with the community. So it may be approached from some kind of margin. One is with good intention to engage with that you help the university if the society, if society has provided you this condition to come to this stage, it is also time to pay back to the society. That is very well intentioned this. But base of this also some kind of market consideration would be there, that it is not possible that you teach in the class and you do not think about resource mobilization. How would you be mobilizing resources? You align your course which will suit it to the market. A professor of commerce and management, perhaps he can better understand this. So your student will not get placement unless you train your student as per the demand of the market. And it is not a blanket statement. Just during the month of March, I got opportunity on behalf of the institution to evaluate Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, IIT, Bombay, and also Delhi University, because these are the institutions which have been granted the status of institution of eminence. So while interacting with the, in Indian Institute of Science, they said that, yes, this is a limitation. I asked that what is your placement rate and graduation outcome. So this, perhaps in our earlier case, we never talked about graduation outcome. Now graduation outcome is not just in terms that, yes, our students have passed and they have also got admission in better institutions. That is not there. How much package his student has been able to get, whether it is 20 lakhs or 2 lakhs. So if it is just 2 lakhs, you are worse institution. Okay, but and there could be even more work if worse if they are not getting any placement. So these are the new say, liberal discourse wherein it is. But I'm not saying that this is the dominant logic of say, but it is also one of the drivers. I should not be very shy as an academician. If this is my personal say based as a researcher rather than I'm representing my institution. My institution is very much supported by the ministry, so it should not be taken as my official statement or institutional statement. This is my, as a researcher, independent academic view. So that is also one of the important. What is important in this case? Two important concepts you should understand. One is emphasis on say culminative learning and comprehensive learning outcome. So culminative learning outcome that a student has graduated and he or she is able to get placed in the market, and this is the package he has been. So more or less in the current say education system, we are paying more attention to the culminating learning outcome rather than comprehensive learning outcome. Comprehensive learning outcome will be talking about citizens, how a student is also emerged as well-informed citizen along with other academic attributes or learning attributes. This needs to be balanced. Somehow, to my understanding, as of now, we are not able to balance this. And therefore, if we are talking about the university engagement, civic engagement, this should also be kept in mind, that we would definitely put the whole idea of comprehensive learning to the student at the center. It is not just culminative learning, which is more in terms of outcome in packages and others. So that is important. Quickly, just coming to the whole idea of measurement. Now, this is not just a matter of debate and discourse, how the civic engagement is coming in. So now, different say European universities and many other say agencies are now in the business. They have started. They have, on the one hand, recognized that university needs to be engaged with the community, and university has to help the university. That is one. That is a ripe consensus. But how, which university is engaging to what extent in the community life? That is the question. And therefore, different toolbox has been say prepared. That the one university world news on higher education that publishes, and it keeps updating, and I'm drawn from that. One is, of course, towards European framework of community engagement in higher education. This is 2018 framework. They have come up, and they have already given this. One is, of course, teaching and learning. Teaching and learning is, of course, important one. Second is also research. Third is about service and knowledge exchange. This is third important say component of this civic engagement. Fourth is a student. It means how students are getting enabled to take initiative of their own research. And finally, what is the kind of partnership with the say community in terms of support to the university. So around five important framework the European Union has come up. But important part of this, the next would be definitely impact ranking, which the idea started in 2017. And that I see that even in our case, perhaps, we will be also subjected to impact ranking. It may be aligned with the present ranking framework, but impact ranking is from Times Higher Education. And Times Higher Education had evolved this say parameters, wherein 17 sustainable, UN sustainable goals, they have been centered in the entire discourse. So universities would be ranked on that basis, SDG goal, as to what extent, and of course metrics are there. So just it will be interesting. For example, no poverty. So Western University Canada, that has been on a research on poverty, that has been given the first, rank in this. Second, on SDG 2, zero hunger. So this university in Japan, they have worked on this idea. So that is, so in the beginning, I already say that it is not Oxford, Cambridge, Stanford, and others, or MIT. These are the institutions which are figuring in this, and this is different from the world ranking of university. Similarly, Iran University of Medical Sciences, good health and well-being of the people. Quality education, SDG 4. This is university in Denmark. So their contribution towards lifelong learning. Similarly, gender equity, Chiang Mai University, say Thailand, in terms of promotion, in terms of recruitment of female, then clean water and sanitation. I forgot to mention that future of education, that is a document which has already been released by the UNESCO. This last year, November, the draft was already received. It is talking about not just teaching learning, it is about climate, it is talking about water, it is talking about day-to-day existence of the people. So all these also articulated in the SDG goal. So this 17 already, I'll share this, it will be available and you could kindly share with this. So all these 17 SDG, different universities have been ranked on this, and each of these rankings are based on metrics on each of the SDGs. So 17 SDGs. Just quickly come, I'll take another 5 minutes. So if we just come to India, do we have any tradition of community engagement of the university? You already having your own understanding about, of course, we had a long tradition. We perhaps we forget about Bharat Scouts and Guides. NCC is, of course, citizenship value, and of course, part of our, military training and all, but NSA. And this Bharat Scouts and Guides, I do not know how many universities are there. So these were the early 50s, one was perhaps in 49 or so. So long back we had established. But all these, say, initiatives have remained ornamental, ritualistic. How many students we are, of course, the terminology which we use in our, say, university, that is community outreach. It is the now discourse is talking about, it is not community outreach, because if you are talking about community outreach, it will be one-way process that you are reaching to the community. It should be a two-way process. And the NSS or Bharat Scouts and Guides and similar kind of initiatives, I just reminded of one of the examples that was in Northeast University, Central University in Assam. Tejpur. Tejpur, just equal opportunity sale is there. And in this equal opportunity sale, they are reaching to the community. They are bridging the gap between institution and community. Number of community services there, and community is also participating. But the current, document is saying this is the 2020. Earlier, 2000, during the 5-year plan, there was already a document. I do not know how many of us have implemented in our institution. There is already fostering social responsibility and community engagement. Perhaps the idea of plan was just dispensed with, but lot of funding was associated with this idea. And now in 2020, the curriculum framework has already come in, which is talking about community engagement as one of the important, aspect of teaching learning process or management process in higher education. So, due to paucity of time, I'm not going to discuss about each of this aspect. The idea is that there could be two different ways of engaging with the university. As a teacher, if it is a public platform, I may not be sharing the same. But as a teacher, what is important for us to think about? How to get the idea of civic engagement, university engagement of civic life or community. One is in terms of reaching to the community or involving community constructively in establishing a linkage between community and say university and improving say citizenship life. That could be one. Another example, very important example, this was just a private university. As a member of University Grants Commission expert team, I visited over there. What the university has done, they had opened up a dispensary, that is a free dispensary, 24 hours functioning. Then I asked, what is the purpose of this? You do not have a medical college. Why? So she said that we are located in such a situation wherein we would like to to serve the community. So all the community members respect our university. If you just say that I am going to the university, nobody will say anything. They will come forward and help you. This is a kind of linkage which we can establish as a university. That is one. Second aspect, which is more, market, I would not say, but different utilitarian concerns that we cannot just brush aside. That has to be also taken into consideration, that now you cannot exist or say at an autonomous kind of a space unless you get support from other actors in the entire education system. So with this, I stop here. If you have any clarification, I had to rush through many ideas, but due to paucity of time, I could not elaborate many points. But I hope I have been able to communicate, which I wanted to communicate with you. But if you have any point or comment or question, you feel free to ask me. Thank you.
Questions?
Any more queries?
Maybe or increased by taking those projects if they are facing some what kind of problems they are facing. Those problems can be a mini projects or major projects. In that way also community participation may be
I think you are right.
uh,
Said here,
uh,
this document, fostering
social responsibility.
say, this. Already some of the institutions are mentioned there. They are just indicative. I'm sure that Nagpur University can also take initiative. That is also how do we engage with the nearby. For example, this Haryana Women University, BPS University, Women University in Haryana. That is quoted in the document. They have said that towards women empowerment, they have been doing this, how they can empower the nearby area women so that they can also take some activities of entrepreneurship. So that is one. Similarly, they have also quoted a case of Agra, Dayal Bagh Institute. That is, 5-6 institutions are quoted in the document, which I have referred here. But I do not end with that. Every institution is having enormous possibility. If we are talking about this area, it could be also how do you resource your own area. And serve the community that way. If or link to the market. If you want to empower, say, community, if you want to provide some kind of a skill. So this can, there could be a number of ways of engaging with the university. So this is good intention. That is one, and of course, comprehensive learning, that you produce well-informed citizen who should be ready to accept differences, live with differences. So that is larger goal. But of course, university can engage in different areas. For example, Professor Sahab say subject. If a group of youth in the area, if they are able to get some kind of accounting skills mediated by, say, computer and others, definitely they will be your valuable capital in years to come, because you will be training them, you will be generating employment for them. It is not that you are giving them job, you are preparing them. And what Amrita Sen, the famous economist, that capability, building capability, creating such a situation they can take advantage of those situations, and they can say take advantage of their enabled skill. So that is how university can engage with. So variety of possibilities.
Yeah.
We cannot just brush aside all those possibilities, and we think that yes, as a teacher, we should be in closed space, a comfortable zone. We have to also think about going out of our, say, comfortable comfort zone, and then also serving the community in variety of ways. But it should not be just mechanical. Unless you are passionate, unless you are engaged with the community, perhaps you may not be able to do justice.
Thank you, sir.
While at the topic of fostering social responsibility, what kind of a role do you think can our ancient Indian knowledge system play? Our knowledge, ancient Indian knowledge, which has always stressed, which is holistic in nature, number one. And number two, it has always stressed dharma. Dharma not in the sense of religion, duty. The primary meaning of the word dharma is duty. It is not religion. So if we can impart or include some part of our ancient knowledge in curriculum, what kind of a role can it play?
I will. But this thing you have asked very, very relevant. Talk about our indigenous knowledge system, how we talk about our traditional knowledge system. It is equally bad to reject the entire tradition. We should not approach the whole idea of our traditional knowledge system from a ideological construct. I'm not talking about ideology. It should be approached as per its own merit. There could be many merits in this, and you have already talked about Dhamma, which Buddhist literature talked about. Dhamma, it is duty. So there could be many points of learning. Our tradition does not say to teach us intolerance. It does not teach many other things. So these are the values which we can inculcate in the children, and this can be also weaved together with the idea of inclusive citizenship learning. That is how we can.
Maybe we can select some eternal principles.
Yeah.
Actually, tomorrow I'm going to present a paper on Tantra Yukti. Yeah. So I'll be talking more about it. So elements of eternal value, maybe we should try to include. So संस्कार जिसको बोलते हैं, वो हो सकते हैं.
So आप तो खुद ही अपना आंसर कर दीजिए. जैसे योगा. So yoga has not to do with religion per se. It is across the religion, transcending the religion boundary. That is how different countries, international yoga day, because it is not a part of so-called Christian tradition or Islamic tradition. Different practices could be there, but it was definitely part and parcel of Indian life. But it is, I would consider that it is transcending the narrow boundary of religious say, understanding about some of the eternal principle which we are talking about. I strongly say go by this, that yes, there are certain values which may be considered as universal values, and universal values should be respected by all of us, irrespective of our social belonging or religion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful deliberation. Now I request Kavishwar, sir, to summarize the session. Sir.
Very good evening to the keynote speaker of this session and the learned audience. In fact, there is hardly anything left out to say, and I don't think that I am in a position to summarize what he has said. That need not be summarized because it was being presented in a very crisp, organized, and lucid form, so that doesn't need to be summarized again. B, it was, I mean, the content was so fabulous that reproducing it is definitely going to be an injustice to his deliberation. Having said this, I would like to add some different dimensions, and probably the honorable speaker will agree that he started with the idea of university, the purpose of university. I'll go a step behind the idea or purpose of education. एक कदम पीछे चलते हैं. आई मीन यूनिवर्सिटी तो बाद में आई है, उससे पहले आया एजुकेशन. एंड व्हाट वाज द पर्पस ऑफ एजुकेशन? What has been the purpose of university? What was the mechanism when universities were set? I mean, we are talking about the era where Takshashila and Nalanda used to be there. What kind of need was there? Education was primarily not for learning, making livelihood. That's what I understand. Education was basically for learning to make a life and not livelihood. And for that, knowledge was required. To make a livelihood, you don't need knowledge per se, you need skill. If you talk about the ancient Indian universities like Takshashila and Nalanda, they didn't use to impart skills, they used to impart knowledge. Skill imparting was the primary responsibility of a parent. पॉटर सिखाएगा, गोल्ड स्मिथ सिखाएगा, ब्लैक स्मिथ सिखाएगा, वो सिखाएगा. And we have transformed, fortunately or unfortunately, to a system wherein we have started sending our kids to schools and educational institutions and universities to learn to make livelihoods. Universities gradually have also started doing that, knowingly or unknowingly. There is another shortcut of story related to that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, there are a lot of people who will not agree with me. Okay. Dronacharya was the first state-funded teacher in the Indian education system. You can distinguish between Rama, Arjuna, and Duryodhana. तीन अलग अलग कैरेक्टर्स है. Two went to school and learned. The school was running on its own. And the third one, the tutor was appointed at home and was funded by the state. That has been happening. Sir has rightly mentioned what is happening these days to the funding of universities. Listen, when state or anyone for that matter is going to fund your system, is definitely going to dictate. Is definitely going to dictate, and we actually do not have any right to decide to judge whether the terms dictated are right or wrong, fair or unfair, correct or incorrect. We don't have a right, because we are getting funding. And hence, in the current context, if any education system for that matter has to sustain on its own by mobilizing its own funds, it has no choice but to involve the community. You don't have a choice. But don't do it per force. Do it voluntarily. Do it for the sake of the society. Do it for the betterment of the society. Sir has rightly pointed out that actually what is the need for community participation in higher education? Because universities have always been formed to solve the societal problems. And unless and until university, its teachers, its students, its various stakeholders do not understand these societal problems, how are they going to be able to solve them? If we as a university are living in our islands, सर ने ivory towers का मैं islands बोल दूंगा, ठीक है? So we are living in our islands. How are we going to know that what common people are going through? What problems are they facing, and how it is actually our duty as a university, as an educational institution. It is our duty to solve their problems. There are twofold purposes of university these days. In the context of the new national education policy, there are twofold duties. One is generation of knowledge, and another is dissemination of knowledge. जिसको आप research universities कह रहे हैं, those are the universities are having primary duty of generating knowledge. And the universities which are teaching and learning universities are having a primary responsibility of disseminating knowledge, having a secondary duty of facilitating creation of knowledge or generation of knowledge. And all these things universities cannot do in isolation. It is precisely pointed out by Honorable Speaker that let us not talk about community outreach. Let us not use that word. Don't try to reach out to them. Better try to involve them. Better try to make them an integral part of your system. There have always been small attempts been made through different regulations and all, because unfortunately we are governed by regulations. The Indian higher education system, I'm sorry to say, but is over-regulated and under-governed. Am I right, sir? It is over-regulated and under-governed. Okay. There are a lot of regulations. AICT, NCT, QCI, UGC, more than 10, 20 apex bodies sitting on heads, throwing some paper some every day that give these statistics, give that statistics, give that statistics, number of disabled, number of Divyangajans, these, that, provide data. What are you going to do with this data? They don't do anything. Because our institutions were primarily formed to do something. And what are we ended up doing? We are providing data. We are not doing anything. That is our role. That is what we are supposed to do. That is the role of community engagement in higher education. It's a little late, so I think I should not drag it beyond the limits of the patience of the learned audience. And with the permission of the Honorable Speaker, I would like to close my deliberation over here. Thank you so much for your patience listening. God bless you.
Thank you, Kavishwar sir. Now I request Kavishwar sir to felicitate Gupta sir with certificate, memento and Gram Gita as a token of love. Sorry. Suresh Kumar sir. Ah.
हमारे यहाँ बनता है
Now I request Acharya ma'am to felicitate Kavishwar sir with a certificate for Thank you, sir. एक 1 minute, huh? Break. आठवडे सर. Hello, Madhu ma'am. Hello. Good afternoon, Madhu ma'am. हाँ.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. So we are audible, ma'am? No problem?
Yes, yes, you are audible. No problem.
Welcome, ma'am. So coming to plenary session 3, we are fortunate to have with us the speaker for this session, Dr. Madhu Kushwaha, Professor, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, to deliver a talk on topic Gender Inclusive Pedagogy on online platform. To chair this session, we have with us Dr. Dattatreya Vatmode, Dean, Faculty of Humanities, RTMNU, I consider it a great honor to welcome Vatmode sir on the dais. I request Ugle sir to welcome Vatmode sir by presenting a sapling. On behalf of organizing committee, I welcome Dr. Madhu Kushwaha ma'am to this 2 days workshop on online platform. It's my privilege to introduce the chair for this session, Dr. Vatmode sir. Dr. Dattatray Vatmode sir is Dean Faculty of Humanities, RTM Nagpur University. He has done MA, MPhil and PhD in Marathi. He has also done MA in Political Science. To his credit, he has authored 1 book and has edited 6 books. He has published 30 research papers in international and national journals of repute, guided 5 PhD students, participated in several conferences, organized state-level seminars, delivered several talks, completed 1 research project. He is recipient of award Maharashtra Bhushan, Jetwan Vachanalay Chandrapur. His other achievements are President Hutatma Bahuuddeshiya Shikshan Sanstha Nagpur, member of Marathi Natya Parishad, member Board of Studies at RTMNU and at Sant Gadge Baba University Amravati, faculty member at Arts College from 2015 to 2016, Deputy Chief Valuation Center at RTM Nagpur University, Study Center in charge Sharda Sharat Chandra Arts Commerce College Butibori. On behalf of organizing committee, I welcome Vatmode sir to this workshop and to chair this session. I request Vatmode sir to introduce our speaker.
नमस्कार. राष्ट्रसंत तुकडोजी महाराज नागपुर विद्यापीठ IQAC के ओर से आज 2 दिवसीय जो सेमिनार यहाँ पे आयोजित किया है, इसके आज के जो स्पीकर है मधु कुशवाहा मैम, उनका परिचय मैं आपको दे रहा हूँ. मधु कुशवाहा इज प्रोफेसर इन द फैकल्टी ऑफ एजुकेशन, बनारस Hindu University, Varanasi, India, and was a Fulbright visiting scholar in the University of Maharashtra, USA in the year 2019-20. She has master degree in sociology and PhD in education. Her area of specialization includes sociology of education and gender issues in education. She was designed courses on gender issues in education for undergraduate and postgraduate students of education at Banaras Hindu University, India. Her research focus equality issues in education and documentation of gender discrimination in teachers' classrooms, practice in Indian and American social context, with the purpose to improve teachers' education practice. Currently, she is working on developing and standardization at self-instruction modular of the menstrual education for Indian along-skin girls. She has publications in leading national and international journals of education and gender studies, and other 2 books on gender issues in education. She has completed 4 research projects, including 1 international project on the topic construction of nationalism and masculinity, role of textbooks in service education of teachers, effect of home and school language gap, and impact of incentives schemes on primary education in India. She has actively involved with several non-government organizations working in the field of education and gender equalities. Thank you.
I request ma'am to please start with the deliberation.
Can I request you to allow me share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. You can share, ma'am.
My screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Watmare, for reading out my brief bio note, and Rashratna Tukoji Maharaj, Nagpur University, for organizing this today workshop on quality enhancement initiative through innovative pedagogical and research practices in higher education, institute and universities. And I'm really humbled by the opportunity you gave me to interact with the faculty and the people are here. And I assume, and as I've seen that the program, most of the speakers are sharing the same physical space with you people. And I am here addressing you or trying to interact with you people through online mode. And let's begin on this note that this medium has its limitation, but I'll try to compensate it. I'll try to finish my deliberation within 45 minutes, and then the rest of the time we can utilize for the interaction, and we can make it as interactive as possible. And can I request host or anyone, like if I lost my connection or if you lost my voice or screen, let me know so that I can correct it then and there. So as you can see that I'm about to speak about gender inclusive pedagogy, and the structure of presentation, the way I have structured this, the entire deliberation, I'll be speaking on gender and gender power relation. And I assume that most of you know the gender, the meaning of gender, and how it operates in our social system kind of thing. But briefly, I'll be speaking on gender and gender power relation. Why is it important? And then why do we need gender inclusive pedagogy? And then what are the gender-based sources of discrimination in education? Because unless and until we know about what are the sources, we cannot address those sources. And then the last one, the last section of this presentation would be focused on how to create gender inclusive classroom with certain broad strategies and certain kind of reflective questions for the teachers, those who are teaching, whether in the school or in the university settings, because the sources of discrimination you will find that it is not only limited to the school setting, but it creeps into the higher education classrooms also, in the university or college classroom. So let's begin with that. What is gender? And gender refers to the socio-cultural definition of man and women, because gender is a social concept, social cultural concept. And it tells us that the way society distinguish between men, women, or among men, women, and others, the third gender people, and assign them social role, like what should they do, what they should not do, kind of thing. The list of do's and don'ts, which we acquire through the process of socialization. So gender has nothing, like gender has very less relationship between your sex or biology. It's more related with the social roles which are being given. So that's why there are certain social roles you will find that which are considered as a feminine social role in a society. It may be considered or appropriate like not feminine in other society. In the same manner, like what is considered today like as a feminine or masculine, it was not considered as a masculine or feminine like 50 years back, kind of thing. Like what was masculine for your grandfather, it is not as relevant for you to be called as a masculine. So it's a socio-cultural definition of man and women. And it varies as per the culture and society and within the same culture from time to time. It is a social classification of male, female. We are born male and female, and we are turned into masculine and feminine categories by the process of socialization and by assigning society, like by assigning the social roles to perform. Is it possible? Then there is a question arises, is it possible to be male and not masculine? To be a female but not feminine? Yes, it is quite possible that you are a perfectly biological male, but you do not subscribe to the behavioral characteristics or the expectations or the social roles which are imposed on you in toto. And in the same manner, what is considered as a feminine in that society, you may be a female, but you don't think that it is applicable to you. So gender is a set of attributes and characteristics which are taught to a female, to a sexed body, So, and the sets of attributes and characteristics which we try to teach a particular kind of body is gender, and the body and the bodily realities are the sex. So sex and gender are different, and we try to teach a certain kind of a group of characteristics to a particular type of body which was considered or which is considered appropriate for that that sex in that society. So it is not only that some people are male and female and we teach them masculine, feminine, and there are third gender categories also. And it is not only this gender is not only a descriptive category, and this is important, and that's why I have put it in the bold and highlighted it, underlined it. Gender is a power relation. It is not a simple description that men are supposed to do this, women are supposed to do this in the society. On the basis of the gender, on the basis of the social roles which we assign them, a system of privileges and deprivations are designed or are functional in that society. Like if you are a male, and as per masculine role, most of the work which you do are paid work. Traditionally women are supposed to work within the home with the kids, taking care of household chores and family responsibility. Traditionally, these works are unpaid. So obviously, both are working, but one group of persons are working and they are being paid, they are being rewarded in terms of monetary terms, and other group of people, those who are, they are also working, but they are not being rewarded in terms of monetary. So their access to resources differs very much. While males in general, they have control over resources, females are deprived of having those resources. So by simply being female, you are prone to certain kinds of violations or harassment or deprivations. Like you are not allowed to access higher education or particular kind of education. You are not allowed to migrate for the education. In the same manner, your brothers and uncles are allowed to. And your parents may say that just take admission in whatever college which is available near the home, and we do not support because there's a lot of logistics issues. So of going outside of the city and taking admission in that college. So many, so the whole system of privilege and deprivation are simply associated with being or having a particular kind of body. So the gender is power relation. We must understand it, and it creates some kind of hierarchy on the basis of the deprivation and privileges you have. So men as a group, here we are not talking about single man and single women. We are talking about men as a group. They are most privileged. They own most of the property of the world, and they dominate the entire power structure, whether it's the political, religious, economic, etc. Women are deprived. When you compare women as a group with men, you will find fewer women in the top position or power position. They own less property, though they do a lot of work. As per the International Labour Organization statistics, women perform 70% of the work which are to be done in any social system or in the world. And they own less than 10% of the property as a whole, as a group. But when you compare the third gender people, and as you can see that I'm not writing third gender people, because the third gender, the Supreme Court gave this term third gender identity. But the third gender person, the trans persons, it's a very big umbrella term. They do not want to be called third gender, because they say that if we are third gender, who is the first gender? They prefer to be called as gender fluid person, those who are non-cisgender person, those who do not confirm the binary of male and female. So here I'm not going into detail of this this nomenclature and those issues. Halaki, those issues are really important. But if you compare this third category of people, the trans people, they are the most deprived. They were very recently they got this this recognition of the identity. Otherwise, they were not recognized in legal documents. They were denied of access to education, access to property, etc., etc. So they are the most deprived. So it is not simply that some people are doing this thing and some people are doing this thing and society dictate to this and that. On the basis of the social roles which a society dictates men and women or third gender to perform, on the basis of that roles, there is a system of reward or deprivation. And simply for belonging to one or other category, you may either feel, you may either find yourself that either you are privileged or you are deprived. So one more thing before I go to the next section of this presentation is that there is an intersectional impact of caste and social class on gender identity. Gender identity doesn't operate in vacuum, you know. So all the other yours identity markers like caste position, social class position, and the gender identity can make a kind of system either for reward or privilege for you. Like, for example, women are deprived as we have, like in the previous slide, we have seen that in comparison to men. But in upper caste women and a lower class and lower caste men is more vulnerable in front of that women. But so intersectionality, like the more the deprivation markers are associated with a person, the more deprived you are. Like if you are a female and you are lower caste also, and you are a lower class also, you are a poor, Dalit, rural area women, and you are disabled also. So your deprivation is much, much higher or much like greater than the women from a very affluent class. But that women from very affluent class, she may have an inferior position in front of the men of the same class. So it is intersectionality matters, and it is very important while you are analyzing the gender-based power privileges or deprivation. You must consider the intersectional identities of the person for whom you are talking. So need for gender inclusive pedagogy. Why do we need gender inclusive pedagogy? And why there are a lot of documents, national and international documents are emphasizing it or re-emphasizing it. Because as you see that, like National Curriculum Framework 2005, because after that we did not have any curriculum framework for us. So this is the latest curriculum framework. And it says that gender is the most pervasive form of inequality as it operates all classes, caste and communities. So gender identities are the basis of the system of deprivation and privileges. It is there in all caste group and all class group. So it is the most pervasive form of inequality. And schooling, actually, NCF, it's an observation is that schooling actually reinforces the gender inequality of socialization and social control. In fact, schools themselves create boundaries that limit possibilities. It is a very dominant and popular belief that if you want to eliminate gender inequality, you should educate people, or education like is a kind of panacea for treating all kind of ill. It's a very dominant and popular belief. But if you think that education has the possibilities, yeah, education, there is possibility that through education we can address those kind of inequality. But first of all, you have to look into the education itself, like whether there is gender prejudice or gender biases within the education system or not. Like if education can address those things, provided education must, or education in itself, it should be free from the gender biases. Okay, so NCF 2005 observation is very pertinent because it says that schooling actually reinforces the gender inequality of the socialization. Like in simplest words, whatever, if there is gender discrimination in a society and there are system of deprivation and privileges or rewards, system of rewards, which are distributed on the basis of gender identity in society, more or less, you will find some kind of system, gender-based inequality or gender biases or gender prejudices also operates within the society or within the school, sorry. So because schools are located, or institutions or universities are located in the society, so it would be very naive to believe that the schools are insulated from those kind of discriminations. It is our job to look those aspects of schooling, those aspects of university, like what kind of gender inequality is there? Like if it is within the school system, if there is gender inequality, how can you assume that this kind of education is going to lead you to achieve gender equality? Sustainable development goals, as I said, that the need of gender inclusive pedagogy or gender equality, like the moment you say we are going to achieve gender equality through education, you are saying that you have to address the issue of gender in exclusive pedagogy, or the issues which are there. And we have to teach we have to educate our teachers and instructors about the gender inclusive pedagogy, because in the absence of those reforms within the education system, you are not going to address this very pervasive problem. So SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, are prepared by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It's the list of 17 goals. There are altogether 17 goals, and I'm sure that all of you must be aware about those goals. And all the countries, almost all the countries, 199 countries, have signed on those documents and pledged that they are going to achieve those goals by the 2030. And India is one of them. Two goals, goal number 4 and goal number 5, specifically address this issue of gender inclusive pedagogy. As you can see that the quality education goal number 4 it is about the quality education. It says that by 2030, eliminating gender disparities in education and ensure equal access to all levels of education. We have to build, and the governments are supposed to build and upgrade education facilities that are child, disability, and gender sensitive. Gender equality is also a goal, SDG goal, one of the goal number 5. And it talks about to end all forms of discrimination against all women and girls everywhere, including school. That's why I have underlined this word, everywhere. Gender inclusive pedagogy, it includes the understanding that the teaching and learning does not take place in vacuum, as I said that. So the schools, the classroom, the universities are situated, located in a social context, and all the form of inequality, if it is there in the society, you can see the traces of those unequal practice, inequality in some form or other in the education system also. To the contrary, it takes place in a complex context of cultural, economic, political, and social events that have their own history and interconnectedness. So if a society has gender segregation, gender inequality, and it has very political, economic ramifications, your education system is also must be affected or plagued by those things. It is our job to see those things, because from the naive eyes or from the eyes of a person, sometimes you think that, oh, there isn't any inequality within education system. And it is a belief which is not supported by the empirical evidences. So there are maybe 10, 20 kind of discrimination in education, gender-based sources of discrimination in education. I cannot deal all of them here. So I have chosen 3 kind of gender-based discrimination in education system. And it is my discretion because I worked on these things. So 2 of them I researched on them. That's why I have chosen it. Otherwise, if you make a list of the gender-based discrimination within education, you will find several kind of discrimination are there. I have chosen 3, and I'll deliberate one by one these gender-based sources of discrimination in education. So the first is in the enrollment pattern. And here I'll talking about the enrollment pattern up to school, okay? In India, there is like there is different forms. So India has a multi-layered system of education. You know, there are government school, private schools, semi-government schools, special category school, etc. But on the whole, you can, on the basis of funding, you can categorize all the schools into 2 kinds of schools. The schools which are funded by government, and those schools are free and they don't charge fee up to certain level, like grade 8th. There are private schools which are not supported. They don't receive any grant from the government, and they are fee charging school. So the students, those who are enrolled there, their parents pay for their tuition fee. So the government school and private schools. In India, government schools are weighted down by the perception problem. Generally, those perception are government schools, the physical infrastructure not as good. Government schools, students' outcome or students' achievements are less than the private schools. Government schools seldom go beyond the textbook kind of thing. I'm not saying all the claims are true, but I'm also at the same time saying that all these perception has some kind of a backing. Like we can see that government schools infrastructures are archaic, buildings are not that much updated, lab facility, etc. Teachers absenteeism, or the low recruitment of teachers, or less number of teachers kind of thing, or single teacher schools, etc. So those are the problems. So in India, the private schools are also very fast growing sector, and it is interesting to note that in private school and growth rate, the growth rate of private schools are much higher than the government schools growth rate. So as a researcher, I was intrigued by this phenomena that government of India is saying that we have at least up to grade 8th level, we have universal enrollment rate, like 98% of the students are enrolled in schools. But it is interesting to go deeper into the data, that who is attending what kind of schools, who is going which kind of schools. So I did this this study of enrollment of government schools and enrollment of the private schools. And as you can see that I took the data of 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17. And in India, you have like data is not as much updated. Recently I checked that the latest data which you have, it is up to 2019 only. So it is the latest data which I use for this study. As you can see that in all the government schools, girls are in a little bit higher number, like 1 percentage point. Like in 2014-15, boys are in government school, boys are 49.32% and girls are 50.68%. But if you look at the private school enrollment, boys are 56% and the girls are 43%. So the girls are, and this pattern is consistent over the year. Okay. So this is for the grade 1 to grade 12. So clearly more girls are in the government school than the boys, but clearly very less girls in comparison to the boys enrollment in private schools. In government school enrollment, difference between boys and girls enrollment is 1 percentage point to 1.5, and maximum somewhere is a 2 percentage point. But if you look at the bars of the private schools, the difference between 10 percentage point to 14 percentage point maximum. It is a huge number. It means that less and less girls are attending private schools. In India, mostly the private schools are English medium schools, and the government schools are generally the schools which teach students in vernacular or in like Marathi. In my state case, it's a Hindi, Gujarati kind of thing. And mostly private schools, and one of the reasons of the growth of private schools is like they promise to teach in English, and the English would be medium of instruction. In India, English is the language of aspiration. So more and more parents want to enroll their kids in English medium schools, and that explains their desire or aspiration. But when the parents have responsibility to educate more than one kid and resources are limited, so which child goes to which kind of school, then one factor is their gender. So boys are enrolled or sent to the private schools. Private schools are the fee charging schools. So parents are reluctant to pay fee for the girls' education, and they are, and this phenomena is all India phenomena. So let me show you some couple of slides about the statistics more. This is the same, on the same statistics, there is a gender parity index of the government and private schools. Gender parity index is a socio-economic index, usually designed to measure the relative access to education of males and females. This index is released by UNESCO. In its simplest form, it is calculated as the quotient of the number of the females by the number of males enrolled in a given stage of education, say elementary education, secondary education, senior secondary education, etc. For example, at elementary level, we divide the total enrollment of female with the number of the total enrollment of male for that elementary level, and the quotient which we get is the GPI or gender parity index. GPI reflects the females' access to education compared to that of males. A GPI is less than 1 means that there are fewer females in that level of education. GPI 1 means there are equal number of males and females at that level of education. And GPI of more than 1 means there are more women or more female than the male student. So as you can see that in this bar, all the government school GPI is more than 1. The blue bar is 1.5, 1.04, 1.05, 1.02. So the GPI of a government school is 1.05. It means that there are more girls in the government school system. And if you look at the red bar, it is the GPI of the private school. Government of India statistics, they do not provide GPI of private schools separately. So I have calculated this GPI of the private schools by dividing the GER of boys and girls in unaided private school system. So there are students enrollment given in the in the statistical sources like educational statistics at a glance. It is there. The students enrollment are given in like types of schools, like unaided private schools. So I divided the students' enrollment, girls' enrollment in unaided private schools by the boys' enrollment of unaided private schools, and now you can get the GPI of private schools. If you find as such GPI of private schools in educational statistics provided by Government of India, there isn't any. They provide you the composite GPI, like combined GPI of government and private schools. In order to compare, I had to calculate it. So the GPI of the private schools is 0.77 to 0.75, 0.74. It means that if GPI is less than 1, it means that there are fewer women in that system or in that type or in that level of schools. The GPI of the major Indian states, as you can see that, the All India GPI is 0.77. It means that if you compare it like in simplest form, if there are 100 boys in a private schools, I think this is up to grade 8. The slide is about the statistics about. There are if per 100 boys there are only 77 girls in private schools at all India level. As you can see that your Maharashtra 0.72. It means that if 100 boys are enrolled in the private schools in Maharashtra, only 72 girls are enrolled in the private schools in Maharashtra. Only Meghalaya has 1 GPI. It means that within the state of Meghalaya, the boys and girls enrollment in private school is like of equal number. It is for Bihar, it is as less as 0.58%. Like Arunachal Pradesh is 0.85, it's like that. So it's an all India trend. Like more and more boys are enrolled in the government, in the private schools, which are fee charging schools, which are English medium schools, and less girls are enrolled in the private schools. So parents are reluctant to pay on girls' education. They are mostly enrolled in the government schools or religious denomination schools because they don't charge fee, and whatever education is available nearby home, parents prefer for the female. So we can deduce 3 things from this data. In comparison to boys, more girls were enrolled in government school, as I said that. In comparison to girls, more boys were enrolled in the private schools. Yes. Third, the gender gap in private school enrollment is of 13 to 14.63 percentage points, is significantly more than the government schools. And there is the difference between 1.5 to 2.4 percentage points. It's clearly visible from the data. Reasons. There are a variety of reasons which have which are contributing. First, maybe there may be more boys in the population cohort, the middle and upper middle socioeconomic class. The class which goes to the private school, obviously when private school charge fee, parents' affordability or parents' ability to pay is a very important factor which decides whether the child will attend the private school or not. So in the middle and upper middle class, it may be a possibility that there are more boys than the girls, and it is not natural phenomena. It is also linked to a very problematic phenomenon of Indian society, that there may be upper middle socioeconomic class, they may have skewed child sex ratio due to sex-selected abortions. We know that due to sex-selected abortion, because India has huge son preferences, the couples want to have boys in their family, a male child, they want male child more than the female child. So, and they have pressure to keep the family size small also. So they have resorted to this kind of inhuman practice, which is illegal. Now the government of India has enacted rules and etc. etc. So, but we have skewed child sex ratio. As per 2011 census, we have only 914 girls as one per 1,000 boys in 0 to 6 years category. So it is a possibility that and this sex-selected abortion, India has a skewed child sex ratio right from the 60s. So this past year of sex-selected abortions, elimination of female fetus, elimination of girls from the population, and it is also a fact that the upper middle class or the affluent class more resort to the sex-selected abortion. So it is a possibility that there are more boys in the population than the girls, and that's why we are seeing that the more boys are attending private school than the girls. Second possibility is that more girls are out of school than the boys, particularly at secondary school level, due to child marriage, due to other reasons, due to poverty, sibling care, etc., etc. But certainly it is a kind of discrimination, and we must pay attention towards this, that who is attending what kind of school. It also affects their life chances. It's not simply that they are going to that kind, because all the schools are not comparable in terms of quality. So it is a very serious kind of discrimination that girls are being denied of good quality education, within quote I'm saying that. So as I also say that parents are reluctant to send their daughters to fee charging schools, English medium schools, and they prefer private schools for their sons. Consequence, as I said that, if you attend a particular kind of school and if you are not attending particular kind of school, it creates a very other from like it has a serious impact on your life chances, the future chances, like what kind of aspiration, educational aspiration you may have, what kind of job opportunities you will have in future. It depends the kind of education, the quality of education, and the medium of instruction you had in your schooling, at your schooling. So it creates an epistemic inequality. Like for example, in India, the higher education, the English is the language of higher education. English is preferred language for jobs, for variety of jobs. So if you got a degree in your vernacular language, say for example, you got a degree in economics, BA economics in Marathi, and you have been instructed throughout from the grade 1 to your first degree of graduation in Marathi, and there is a person who is instructed in English and the got degree, BA degree in economics in English. So the life chances, your trajectory of employment will significantly differ because the way we weigh a particular kind of language and the kind of notion is attached to that kind of knowledge which you got either through vernacular medium or English medium education. And if you want to apply for MA economics in somewhere else in a prestigious institution or outside of India, for example, it would create a kind of barrier because you got your first degree in Marathi or say, for example, in Hindi. So it creates epistemic inequality. Pedagogical implication, more girls are getting education in vernacular language, as I have shown with the example of the data. They face crisis of language gap in higher education because when they go for higher education, most of the time within higher education, English is, you have more material, more study material in English, you have more opportunities in English language. So you face a crisis of language gap. You are struggling with language and then you are struggling with the content. And it has a negative impact on the life chances of the students, those who got their education in the native language, in their vernacular language. The second kind of discrimination is the teacher's classroom time and attention. It has been documented and researched through various there are empirical data evidences that boys get more time and attention than the girls in the classroom. And boys are asked more challenging questions than the girls. So if the boys and girls are studying in the same classroom, it doesn't matter that they are getting the equal kind of education or equal quality of education in terms of the teacher's pedagogical time and attention. Most of the time, girls are asked routine type of question. Teachers paid more attention towards the boys' pedagogical needs and their requirements. They are being pushed and challenged through more serious question, more challenging question, and they are encouraged to strive for the excellence in comparison to the girls. Here, I just want to quote, there are different studies I have quoted. I just want to quote a study done by Ramchandran. In Madhya Pradesh, female teachers were employed in Shellore district. In tribal area, female maths teacher were employed in order to boost the achievement of tribal girls in maths, you know. And after 5-10 years, it was evaluated, like the kind of impact it had created. And it was shocking to find out that the female maths teacher in that district, they themselves believe that it is more important for boys to study maths than the girls. And that's why they paid more attention to the boys in the classroom, in their classroom, than the girls. So kind of, so this is, even if you are studying in a classroom, you are there, you may be shortchanged by the teacher's time and attention. So it is also a source of discrimination within the education system. The reasons are complex, the cultural context and the implicit biases of teachers. In the cultural context in which we live, like the study which I quoted, Ramchandran's study, when it was like when the teachers were interviewed, they said that, yeah, like it is more important for boys to learn mathematics and science because they have to do the job. They have to go in the outside world, they have to take jobs and they have to provide for family. Girls, they are simply getting education, and after getting education, they will be married off, and they are supposed to do only the household chores. So it is not important for them to learn mathematics in as much as it is important for boys. So in the cultural context, the social roles which are divided on the along the line of genders, it also works as a negative kind of consequences within the classroom. Like boys and girls are enrolled to learn at the equal space, in the equal space with the equal entitlement, but because as I said, that education system operates in a cultural context, so the school reinforces the same kind of biases which may be there in the family and the society, that it is not as important for girls to study, and here they are, you will find the same biases are being reinforced by the teachers within the school premises, kind of thing. Implicit biases of teachers. Teachers are the part and parcel of the same social system, you know. They do not come from the Mars or Jupiter. So they also share the same kind of biases. So the teachers are more used to of the idea of the compliant girls, the girls who are more obedient, and the girls and the boys, those who are more assertive. And the girls, if the girls are more assertive, the teachers may not think that it is more appropriate. So the implicit biases, it may not be that like conscious bias of teacher, but the implicit biases of teachers also decides that like his time or her time and attention, like how to utilize that 30 minutes or 40 minutes of the class time, and how to rationalize whom to pay attention more, what kind of attention, etc. within the classroom. The third kind of discrimination within the education system, the biggest source is the hidden curriculum. Hidden curriculum are those norms and values that are implicit and they are taught implicitly but effectively. And those norms and practices, beliefs are not usually taught in our teacher statement of ends and goals. Like school or teachers, they do not talk about it. But hidden curricular practices are those norms and the rules, unwritten rules, obviously, which are being followed by all the stakeholders, whether the students, teachers, parents, management, principals, authorities, and the slightest violation of those rules and norms are being noticed by everyone, and the strongest reaction may follow after violating those unwritten rules and norms. Like, for example, the way the shores within the schools are distributed along the line of genders. Girls are mostly being given the responsibility of cleaning, storing of the register, helping teachers within the school premise or within the classroom. Aesthetically, they are being involved in the rangoli making and those kind of extracurricular activities. But the boys are being chosen for the outside of work or errands, which involves going outside of the schools, etc. They may be encouraged to participate in debates and the sports which are very physically challenging. So hidden curriculum practices are not, these biases and these discrimination are not being done overtly. Like, for example, by not providing a female coach for cricket, a team of the school or the university, or by providing a male coach for the university, male cricket coach. So if you are not providing a female cricket coach, so obviously your female cricket team of the university or school may be weak and they may not perform. And you are spending less on those facilities to create the same amount of opportunity and facility for both the sexes. So these practices are very rampant. By not providing toilets, separate toilets, it's like that. Okay, and open defecation is not culturally supported for the females. And men, they can relieve if there is no facility, but you don't expect women to do those things. So the girls may skip schools during their menstruation. They may not come to school and they may lose the important instructional days from their the entire education planning. Same way, the school may segregate students along the line of gender within the school, like sex segregated seating arrangement, sex segregated extracurricular activities, sex segregated allocation of work. So those are the hidden curricular areas because it is not written and it is not being mentioned. But if you violate those norms, everyone, they pay attention and notice. So what is this use of hidden curriculum? And the use of hidden curriculum is to maintain the status quo. Because just remember the first or second slides that gender is a power relation. So the power between these two groups, say for example, here take only the male and female. So the males have more resources within schools, more spaces, ground, etc., teachers' time and attention, and the females are satisfied by having less. So you do not want to change that status quo. So hidden curricular practices and norms are useful because they support status quo. They do not support change. And it is very contrary because we believe that the education will bring change. Education will bring gender equality. But you can see that education is not bringing gender equality. It is maintaining status quo. It is maintaining the power relation or imbalance between the genders or among the genders. So hidden curriculum is what which is not taught but transmitted implicitly. We never ever talk about we do these things. We say that, oh, girls are more good in Rangoli. So that's why, like, we have never ever say that. Or sometimes teachers say that you should study biology for girls, you should study literature, but you can discourage boys. You should not study literature, you should study maths and science because it is more employable, kind of thing. Or by not providing those subject choices in the girls' schools. So, but it used to teach values, beliefs, and ideas that legitimizes inequality. In the end, what we are teaching them, you are supposed to do in your adult life these things. And that's why these things are more appropriate for you within the school system or within the curriculum. So example of hidden curricular practices, as I mentioned, it is only suggestive list. It is not exhaustive list. You can carefully watch your own school, your own institution, and you will find, and you can add into this list, segregated sitting arrangement, work allocation in the school and classroom. If you see any seminar or any conference in the university, most of the time you will find that the girls are being chosen to give the memento and the flowers, to bring those memento and flowers to the dais. Have you seen seldom that those work has been assigned to the boys and males? And find out reasons why we don't do it in that same manner. So work allocation in the school and classroom, teachers, gender-based expectation from students, what teachers expect that what students are supposed to do in your adult life, in their future life. So they adjust their time and attention, the pedagogical practices, differential punishment. Students also have gender-based expectations from teachers. A very assertive female professor, a very assertive female teacher is not tolerated or resented. Like she may be resented, she may be opposed. But if a very authoritative male teacher is there, Students appreciate that. That sir is really good. But if female teacher demand the same kind of the assertion, she exert those things. So students also have gender-based expectation from their teachers, and the teachers also have gender-based expectation from the students. Hidden curricular practices reflects a lot about implicit biases against girls, Dalits, tribes, disabled person, and non-English speaking students. So hidden curriculum practices are not only with related to gender, but it is related, you can see that with these people, we have those implicit biases mostly, and it has a ramification or repercussion on the pedagogical choices or strategies adopted by the teachers. The unofficial expectations, implicit but expected messages arises from the structure of schooling experiences. Like I said, that you can structure the school by not providing female coaches, by not providing science stream for women, by not providing domestic science for male students, vice versa, just like that. So you are giving them a kind of message that what is expected from you. This is an example of implicit bias. It comes within the textbooks area, but I have chosen it in order to show you the implicit bias which is there. It is a private publisher textbook. It is a leading publisher in North India. It's a published, this EVS textbook is published from the Delhi, and it is being used in Delhi, UP, even in Bihar, MP. This is the SST, or you call EVS at the grade 1 level. Grade 1 book is there. If you, here the main character is Lena, and she is describing her family. And if you see the messages, it's chapter 1 from that book. Hi friends, I am Lena. I'm 5 years old. I live with my mother, father, and younger brother. My family is small and loving. And see the way Lena describes her father. This is my father. He works in a hospital. He is a doctor. I love my father. He brings toys. And see also the visual. The father is being shown sitting on the sofa, having leisure time at home and reading newspaper. And now Lena is describing her mother. This is my mother. She works in a school. She's a teacher. It means that she's a full-time teacher. She is busy yet cheerful. I love my mother. She cooks tasty food. She helps me in my homework. So Lena's mother is, in spite of being in full-time paid work, the way she has been depicted, she is depicted in a setting of kitchen while cooking. She is not being depicted while teaching, or she is not being depicted while having leisure time at home. Okay. So this kind of messages, when you repeat year after year after year, it legitimizes 2-3 things. That implicit expectation from an educated female is that you have to have double burden. You have to be successful outside of the house in your chosen profession, and you have to be successful at home. And so there is a seamless balance between paid work and unpaid work. And father is not supposed to, he may be shown as helping or standing in the kitchen chopping vegetables, because both are working, so the household responsibility can be evenly shared. But the way the chapter is being written, the way the entire scenario is being depicted, it gives you a very different kind of subtle message for men, because all the boys and all the girls, those who are reading this, these kind of messages, they will reading this thing for year after year, like for 12 years of schooling. And they are getting a very different kind of message, that what is important for an educated female and what is important for an educated male, what is expected from them, what is expected from a female. So these are the cues, these are the messages which and there are ample of implicit biases. Agar aap isko dhyan se dekhenge, in text material, in pedagogical practice, in teachers' time and attention, there's a lot of researches are in there. So you will find this enormous example of this implicit expectations. The last portion of my presentation is how to create gender inclusive classroom. So one thing is clear, that there is gender bias. The gender bias, I have taken 3 types of sources, but there are more than sources, more than 3 sources. So there is not a question of where there is gender bias hai ya nahi hai. It is not a question. How to, there is gender bias, let us acknowledge it. There's acknowledge that there is a bias and work on the implicit bias. All of us have certain kind of biases, this or that kind of bias. So how to create gender inclusive classroom? First, the first and foremost step is that please acknowledge, at least admit the fact that there is implicit bias within the structure of school, within the teacher's expectation, and we have to work on it. Pay attention to the distribution of pedagogic time. As an individual teacher, you can pay attention your own time. If you are teaching in a mixed setting, mixed gender classroom, pay attention that who is asking more questions, whom you are responding more, whom you are paying more time, kind of thing. And if you are a student of education, you can conduct researches on those areas. And if you are an individual teacher, you can monitor your own pedagogic time within the classroom. Acknowledge that there is a hidden curriculum. There are norms, beliefs, and practices of your institution, and address those things. So the first part is that acknowledge that there is a problem. Unless and until you acknowledge, you are not going to fix it. In service training, like this lecture, this kind of trainings, intense in service training, which are being organized by University Academic Staff College or the NCRT or the diets, it can be a source of addressing this issue and teaching teachers how to create gender inclusive classrooms, how to be sensitive towards the various needs of the various gender, and how to be how to address this implicit bias. Democratic management of classroom, how to teach them how to manage their classroom democratically, in which all the students have equal time, all the students have equal entitlement, all the students have equal access to teachers' time and attention, and give space to all student voices. Strategies. I'll be talking about some specific strategies, like how to do it. This is a suggested list. It is not exhaustive list. If you are more interested, if you are acknowledging and then you start reflecting, you can address those things. The first thing is that as a teacher, you must acknowledge. So you first ask question about your own pedagogical strategies and the pedagogical behaviors or practices which you employ while you teach. The appropriate question is not that who is biased. Oh, I am not biased. They are biased. It's like that. No, everyone is everyone, because you live in that society. You are being socialized in that society. So you may have some kind of bias. So this is not the appropriate question that who is biased. The appropriate question is, what are my biases? Am I biased? Am I biased toward the Hindi speaking students, or am I biased to, or do I pay more attention to the boys? Do I encourage more boys, or do I encourage girls to do particular kind of jobs? Kind of thing. And what am I going to do about them? So you have to be very reflective. You have to be ready to ask questions about your own practices. Strategies, ask yourself some questions before entering into the classroom. Like what kind of preconception I have in terms of the gendered ability of students. Like girls can do these things better. Boys can do these things better. Boys cannot do these things. Do I have these kind of abilities or preconceived notions, which I get from my own upbringing, my own socialization? What kind of diversity I may have in my classroom? Like, do I have any non-binary or third gender person in my class? A person who a student who doesn't conform to this male or masculine, feminine binary? What kind of preconception I have? Do I think that these people they are non-teachable? They cannot be taught? If I have those kind of preconceptions, you have to work on it. Use data to dispel your gender notion. If you have gender notion that girls cannot learn mathematics or boys cannot do these things, so use data to dispel your own preconceived notion or biases. One strategy may be like counter stereotyping imaging. Whenever you find that you have some kind of stereotypical generalized notion about any gender identity activity, imagine examples of people who contradict these stereotypes. Like if you feel that the trans people are incapable of leading or being a good leader or being intelligent person, think about the Apple CEO, the Apple company, the Apple mobile company, the CEO. He's a trans person and he is leading. He's a very intelligent person. He is leading a very big corporation of the world. So This is the counter stereotype imaging. The moment you have some kind of stereotypical biases, try to imagine, try to find out those kind of people and persons which counter your biases, like which you may feel that, oh, I'm wrong. Like whenever you feel that the girls cannot learn mathematics, think about a women scientist, think about vice versa, like that. So the second strategy, it also helps. It's a counter stereotype imaging. The third strategy, use if and then strategizing. It is particularly important to rationalize your classroom time and attention. Like if in my classroom, if I ask a question and if a boy, a girl and a trans, all of them raise hand, whom I give the opportunity to answer. Okay. So this is the strategizing thing, if and then. If I ask that who will volunteer for giving bouquet in seminar, you know, and if a man and a woman, they volunteer, I'll choose man because I just want to counter stereotype it. Okay, because they were not being encouraged to do that kind of work, and girls were not being encouraged to do that kind of work. So in order to change this thing, in order to change that status quo, in order to change that biases, I'll deliberately, actively do certain things and believe in general pedagogical principles. And those general pedagogical principle is a very general, as a part of our education program in pre-service education program. You try to teach, educate whole class, not the few people, those who male students or very advanced learners, sometimes female students, those who raise hands, those who answer maximum question, those who get maximum reading opportunity in the classroom, and they grab your maximum attention or your maximum time. So teach, educate entire class, not few students. Treat student as an individual, not as a group kind of thing, an identity. And you should believe that all students can learn and their capacities, abilities can change. You should not have this kind of notion that these kind of people, these category of people cannot learn, they may learn, they are advanced learners, they are good learners. The labeling practice of the teachers level the students' capabilities, identities mentally. And this labeling practice has the direct bearing or implication on the student, on your pedagogical practices and choices. So you have to be really cautious. You have to be really reflective about those aspects. And then only you can address those things and can change those things. And thank you for your question and patient hearing. And now the floor is open for observation and questions.
Hello. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Is anyone have any query, any questions?
Hello, Madhu ma'am. First, I
Yes.
congratulate you because you highlighted that gender inequalities point, which we never mind. Actually, we are in our regular practice, we actually committed that, but we never mind that this is a part of gender inequalities. For example, in program, mostly we allowed the girls for giving the bouquet and or serving something, but on boys we give the mostly outside work, and we never mind that this is a part of gender inequality. But you highlighted that this is again the part of gender inequalities, and your presentation is very nice because you just teach us what are the in hidden curricula, what directly, indirectly we committed as a teacher. Okay, we committed the gender inequality. So it's a very nice presentation. But in
I just lost. Is everybody there? Hello? I just lost.
नहीं उनका आवाज ही नहीं जा रहा है.
Yeah, I was not able to listen your question. So can you repeat?
Yeah, in SDG,
Yeah.
yeah, gender inequality is the one of the point. So under multidisciplinary, what type of courses we should take under gender inequality
Uh,
to
yeah,
fulfill the SDC or implement the SDC
yeah,
in our regular curricula? Can
yeah,
you suggest? Can you suggest some?
I got your point. It's a really important question you raise. Gender equality is one of the goals, or goal number 5 of SDG, and it says that gender equality should be achieved by all the stakeholders and all the social system in the society. So gender is a lens, you know. So whether you are teaching history or physics or maths or economics or a teacher education program, you must reassess your curriculum in terms of the kind of representation it is there for all the gender identity people, you know. And as a university teacher, you can suggest readings in your curriculum, you can change your curriculum. And like, for example, let me give you my own example. Here we were revising our curriculum, and I'm in a teacher education program, and obviously in teacher education program you teach a paper where you teach great educators of India. Am I right? So in the great educator section, all the educators, those who were there, they were male. You know, I do not have any bias against male educators, but I said that we must have some of the female educators or educationists, those who did very extraordinary work in the past. Like, for example, Pandita Ramabai. So, for example, Savitribai Phule, or for example, Fatima Sana Sheikh, kind of thing. So, our students, they should know that there were female educationists, there were the female educators, those who have contributed towards immensely towards the reform of education system, kind of thing. So by not providing those kind of knowledge to our students, we are not doing justice. So by doing this interdisciplinarity section, you may have to dig into the history so that you can have content. So as a teacher, as a higher education institution teacher, you have to look your curriculum, and then you have to look the kind of representation it provides, it gives to different gender identity people, and then how they are being represented. So you can suggest changes in the curriculum, as well as if the changes that are not there in the curriculum, you can suggest readings. As a higher education institution professor, you give readings to your students to read a particular, to make to have better understanding about the topic. So you can suggest readings, alternative readings, because hegemonic readings are mostly, you will find within the university syllabus, readings are of from a particular section of the society. So you can suggest in form of readings, in the form of tweaking your course in terms, by seeing your course in terms of the gender lens, and so that you can do it at that level. At school level, you cannot change the curriculum, because the curriculum has been given by the state departments of education or by NCERT. But at that level, if you sensitize students or teachers, like the kind of example I gave you of the textbook, the last example I gave you of the textbook, which is being used in the private schools. So while sensitizing teachers, the teachers can, while teaching, teachers can change those things. Teachers can ask those questions. Like, do you find any problem in this image? Do you find any problem in this context which is given? So, but in order to find the problem, you first build the capacity of the teachers, you know. If the teachers are not capable of finding out the problem, or if the teachers themselves do not have the gender lens, they cannot find, they cannot they cannot ask the right questions, you know, whether about their own pedagogical practice or about the content or the study material which is being given to them. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any more questions? Thank you, ma'am. I request Watmode sir to summarize the session.
नॅक बंगळुरू राष्ट्रसंत तुकडोजी महाराज नागपूर विद्यापीठ यांच्या संयुक्त विद्यमाने आपण 2 दिवसांचं जे त्यातल्या आजच्या 3ऱ्या सत्रामध्ये मधु कुशवाहा मॅमने एक उत्कृष्ट व्याख्यान दिलेलं आहे. मैम रियली कुछ बातें ऐसी है कि जो हमारे दिमाग में आई भी नहीं थी, वो आपने यहाँ पे एक्सप्लेन किया है. आचार्य मैम, पार्टिसिपेंट्स, एक बात अपने ध्यान में रखने को ना कि टीचर जो कोई भी है वो जिस संस्कृति से टीचर कोई भी है वो जिस संस्कृति से आता है उस संस्कृति में जो कुछ भी उसको संस्कारित करता है वो लेके आता है और वही उसके टीचिंग में आता है. मुझे ध्यान में है शायद फर्स्ट ईयर या सेकंड ईयर में मैंने पढ़ा था. वो लेसन का नाम था विज्ञान आणि वैज्ञानिक दृष्टि. उसमें क्लियर किया था कि हम सबने विज्ञान का यूज किया है, लेकिन क्या हमारे में वैज्ञानिक दृष्टि आई है क्या? नहीं आई. अगर ऐसा होता तो एखादा बाबा अपनी तरफ आता और बोलता कि आपके ने जो सोना है वो मैं आपको डबल करके देता हूं. बहुत से पढ़े लिखे जो लोग हैं ना वही ज़्यादा इसमें फंसते हैं. मतलब हमने वैज्ञानिक दृष्टि का यूज नहीं किया है, प्रयोग नहीं किया है. उसी तरह इक्वालिटी और इक्वालिटी की दृष्टि हमारे में आने को होना वो नहीं है. हम बातें करते हैं. मैम ने जो अभी बताया कि हम एक आधा प्रोग्राम लेते हैं तो प्रोग्राम में बाहर का वर्क जो है वो लड़कों को देते हैं और हमारे दिमाग में जब भी प्रोग्राम का पूरा प्लान आता है तो स्टेज पे डेकोरेशन, बुके देना, पहुंचाना, देना नहीं बुके पहुंचाना, ये काम के लिए लड़कियां ही हमारे दिमाग में आती है. इतना हमारा माइंड सेटअप है, हम उसके बाहर नहीं निकल रहे हैं. इतना ही नहीं, हम भी कॉलेज में जब लड़कों को एडमिशन लेते वक्त सब्जेक्ट चुनने के बारे में गाइडेंस करते थे. होम इकोनॉमिक्स किसने लेना? लड़की ने. हिस्ट्री किसने लेना? लड़की ने. ये हमारा माइंड सेटअप है. कभी हमारे ध्यान में बातें आती नहीं है कि साइंस, उसमें मैथ जैसे सब्जेक्ट जो है वो भी लड़कियां अच्छी तरह से पढ़ सकती है. अभी देखो आप साइंस में जो भी होंगे, आप अपने साइंस में जितने भी सब्जेक्ट है उसका आप सोचो उनके बारे में, आपको कुछ ही ऐसे सब्जेक्ट इसमें दिखेंगे जिसमें लड़कियां ही ज्यादा है, लड़के कम है. ये हमारा माइंडसेट अब हो चुका है. लेकिन ध्यान में रखिए कि इसके बाहर अपने को निकलना पड़ेगा और वो उसके बाहर निकलने के लिए शिक्षा में सिर्फ समानता नहीं, समानता की दृष्टि अपनी आने को. लड़कियों को भी अपन अच्छे सब्जेक्ट लेने के लिए प्रोत्साहित करने को ना, वो भी बहुत अच्छे सब्जेक्ट पढ़ के अपने देश की उन्नति में बहुत बड़ा योगदान दे सकते हैं. ये बात अपने ध्यान में रखने को होना. वैसा भी बताने की जरूरत नहीं है 10वीं के जो रिजल्ट लगते हैं, 12वीं के जो रिजल्ट लगते हैं, सबसे ज्यादा लड़कियां ही टॉप पे होती है। वो प्रूव कर रही है, वो प्रूव कर रही है। उसके बावजूद भी हमारा माइंड सेटअप हमारे को उनको इक्वालिटी की एक स्टेज पे लाने नहीं देते। मैं यहाँ पे जितने भी शिक्षक बैठे हैं उन सभी को अनुरोध करूंगा कि कुशवाहा मैम ने जो विषय रखा है वो इक्वालिटी की दृष्टि से देखिए। सिर्फ ऊपर ऊपर यानी दिखाना, हमने ऐसा बोलना कि हम लड़कियों को समान संधि दे रहे हैं, लेकिन संधि तो दे रहे हैं, लेकिन जहां जहां उनमें जो ताकत है, उनमें जो क्वालिटी है, वो क्वालिटी दिखाने के लिए अपन उनको अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं देते। ये रियलिटी है, इससे बाहर हम सभी शिक्षकों ने निकलने की जरूरत है। यही मैम का जो आज का उत्कृष्ट जो लेक्चर है उसका सारांश है। थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful session. The topic of deliberation was somewhat different. Maybe today we don't think that there is any discrimination when we give education to our kids, whether it is a boy or girl. But with the statistical analysis, ma'am, you had shown that there is discrimination between the girls and boys while giving education, and there is gender inequality. Maybe today we may not accept that this is a fact, but maybe unknowingly this is uh, happening, that there is discrimination between girls and boys. Thank you, ma'am, for highlighting this issue in front of audience. We will take care of it. Now I request Vatmode sir, I request or ma'am, please accept the certificate of felicitation from us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Khangai sir to felicitate Vatmode sir with her certificate. Thank you, sir. Now we will have 10 minutes tea break, but still today's session is not over. Uh, Still oral presentations are there. We will have four. Sir will announce the things, but today we are going to have the oral presentations right now in 10 minutes. I'm handing over the podium to Khangai sir.
No, not yet. We'll go for a short tea break, and immediately after that, we'll have oral presentation. All those who are supposed to make oral presentation, there will be 4 paper. Please give your PPT here. So that they can put in the computer, and lastly you won't be having any problem. After the oral presentation, those people who have displayed their poster outside, after the oral presentation, they will stand near poster. The examiners will come near poster so that you can explain the concept to them. Our examiners are there who will be evaluating your oral presentation as well as poster presentation. Please join immediately after 10 minutes. Thank you so much.
Now I request Khangai sir to welcome Anjali ma'am by presenting a sapling. I request Dhanashri Patrikar to welcome Dr. Charuta Joshi ma'am by presenting a sapling. Thank you, ma'am. Now it's my privilege to introduce the judges. Dr. Anjali Andrew ma'am is Associate Professor and Head of the Department of History, Hislop College. Ma'am is teaching at undergraduate level since 29 years. She is contributory lecturer at PG level for 3 years. She has completed 2 UGC minor research projects. To her credit, ma'am has published 18 research papers in referred journals, published 7 papers in conference proceedings, presented several papers in conferences, organized several national and international conferences. Ma'am has organized 4 workshops for students and teachers on heritage and cultural studies at Hislop College, Nagpur. She was member of 12 local inquiry committees formed by the Vice Chancellor of RTM Nagpur University. She was examination board member for UG for 4 years and was co-convener of Arts Admission Committee of Hislop College for last 10 years. I welcome ma'am to this scientific session. We have with us as a judge Dr. Charuta V. Joshi ma'am. Presently, ma'am is working as an assistant professor on regular basis in political science at Srimati Pinzani Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Nagpur since 15 June 2010 till date. Her previous experience is she has worked as lecturer in RTM Nagpur University, Babasaheb Ambedkar College of Law. She has worked as lecturer in LAD and SRP College of Women, Shankar Nagar, Nagpur. She has also worked as lecturer in political science at GH Raisoni Law School, Nagpur. Ma'am has done her PhD in political science from RTM-NU. Ma'am has been awarded with 3 gold medals. To note them, she has been awarded with gold medal for securing first position in the merit list of Sanskrit Visharad in the year 2002. She has been awarded VSS Shri Vaman B. Karambelkar and Srimati Sagunabai Karambelkar Smriti Padakkam for securing first position in Sanskrit Visharad exam. She has been awarded gold medal for being adjudged the best speaker in an elocution competition by NSS Department of LAD and RSP College of Women, Shankar Nagar, Nagpur. Ma'am is also recipient of 4 silver medals. Her special recognitions are as a co-op member on RTM Nagpur University Board of Studies of Political Science, awarded prestigious university level Sri Govardhan Das Harijivan Das Royal Prize for obtaining highest percentage of marks in BA, BSc and BCom examination in the convocation ceremony of RTM Nagpur University. Received certificate of recognition for contributing one of the best essays in the Vidarbha level research cum essay competition organized by Vision Next Foundation, Nagpur. She has published several research papers in various national and international journals, attended and presented research papers in various conferences, seminars, symposia, and workshops in India and abroad. Coming to the extracurricular activities, ma'am represented and won prizes for Nagpur University in various state, inter-university and national level debate and elocution competitions. Represented and won prizes for Kalidas Sanskrit University in various intercollegiate and inter-university competition, and won prizes in various intercollegiate essay writing, poetry reciting, elocution, quiz, and Katha Kathan competitions. So we are privileged to have these judges with us for the oral presentation as well as poster presentations. Now for the further proceedings of this oral presentation competition, I hand over this podium to Ravi Khangai sir.
Distinguished judges, I know Dr. Ruhi Bhakare is here. Well, okay. Om is here, I think. Yeah, okay. Then Rohan Thaure is here. Yeah, okay. You are presenting. Rohini Palekar. Yeah, okay. All the participants are here. See, the rule of the game is that you will be getting 10 minutes altogether. Each paper will be given 10 minutes. 8 minutes you do the presentation and 2 minutes will be for Q&A. So after 8 minutes, you will be given a warning to stop your presentation. Immediately you have to conclude. So I will invite distinguished judges. You may take the seats because you can see the PPT. All of you are given your PPTs here, right? Well, okay. I invite the first presenter, Dr. Ruhi Bhakare. So you can introduce your paper and then you can start the presentation, right?
एकदा पीपीटीवर क्लिक करा हो द्या नेक्स्ट
Shall I start, sir?
Yeah.
A very good evening to honorable jury members and all the participants present over here and the organizers. I am Dr. Ruhi Bakhare and I am Assistant Professor and Head Research Cell from Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Management Studies and Research, Diksha Bhumi, Nagpur. And my co-author is Dr. Nizar Kulkarni, Associate Director, Professor and Dean Administration of Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Management Studies and Research, Diksha Bhumi, Nagpur. Number of journals of repute, but how many of these research papers are actually getting cited and are used for decision making or policy making purpose? I I'm scared to say that hardly any papers are getting used for this purpose. And this is my concern that in case if this much of research is getting generated, then why this research paper are not getting cited and not used for any kind of policy making? Unfortunately, the academia lacks in the understanding and the need of quality research. And this has actually created a gap between the research activity and the output which we are expecting from the academia from research. And hence, this study has been undertaken in order to measure the awareness level of quality research. We are doing research, but what exactly is the quality research and where we need to publish? What are the places, what we called as so-called quality journals, wherein these research papers will get published and hence will be cited? So that is my concern. A parsimonious model I have tried to develop for this study. I have conceptualized it through the literature which I have collected for this study. A model by using AMOS, I have developed around 115 postgraduate faculty members' responses I have collected. And certain important facts I would like to present in front of you, that the research intelligence report of Elsevier published in the year 2018. Ma'am, this is the recent data which I have gathered. In the field of research publication, India stands on the 5th position as per the Asia's ranking in Scimago journal. India appear in the top contributors in the publication. But still, the sad part, though the India is ranking on the 5th position, the sad part is the citation. These papers are not getting cited. And in addition to this, the data which I have presented over here, the country has faced challenges such as the rapid propagation of predatory journals. Since we are looking forward for, say, rapid publication, so there is a lot of scope for the journals which are having the fraudulent practices and about which we are unaware. So taking further, according to, again, the latest data which is available on AICTE website, on and around 403 management universities in Maharashtra are there, and 5,945 AICTE approved management faculties are there. So I would like to bring your attention over here. The data which I have gathered is specially from the management domain faculty members. Right. And here on an average on the portal, the information is given that 5,000 plus faculty members are on approved position. And if we take into consideration that these faculty members at least publish 2 research paper in an year, so on and around approximately roughly 11,800 figure of papers is there in, say, available for our, reference purpose. But out of these 11,000 papers, how many, again, the question lies, how many of them are cited? Even we ourselves, how many times we look back to our papers which we have published some time ago? So according to the survey, the majority of the publication lags quality, and probably that is the reason why these are not getting published or say getting citation. If you look at this graph, madam, here the major problem, the deterrent factor for publication is the high quality. People are not able to actually conceptualize the thing and they are lagging in the quality research, followed by the similar ranking has been given by the people who have responded to the query questionnaire is aligning with the scope of journal. People are not able to understand what type of papers are expected to get published in that journal, followed by the high standard of, followed by the lack of inferior quality of journal. So these are certain matter of concerns, the factors which are responsible for publication in, say, inferior quality papers. Then the data has shown that there is a drastic necessity to create awareness amongst the faculty with respect to what do you mean by quality publications and the quality output which is expected from the researchers. And again, if you look at this data, these are the major factors which are again responsible for poor quality. The majority is the expenses involved in publication, what we called as article processing charges. If we expect that the journal should have a, say, Q1 quartile or Q2 quartile, they are charging, ma'am, minimum 1 lakh of rupees. And this is the major factor why people are not able to publish in the high quality journal, and they are looking for shortcuts and unfortunately getting trapped into the predatory journal practices. This research focuses on these two questions. What are the major challenges faced by the faculty members in academia, and the purpose behind conducting the research activities which they are undertaking. Again, I have explained earlier that the majority of the data which I have collected is from the management fraternity faculty members, and the data I have collected is between the a month of March to April 2022. Around 115 round responses I have gathered. Ma'am, this is the model which I have developed, wherein I have identified these 5 major factors. First is the target-based research, which is set by the employer. Like I have said that there are many institutions wherein the employer is asking that these number of research paper must get published in the academic year. So ma'am, we cannot force a faculty member to publish such a number of research paper. It is not the activity which can be enforced on somebody. Second is the expenses involved. I have mentioned earlier, article processing charges are huge. Third is lack of mentoring. Many faculty members, those who are pushed into the research domain, they are unaware about the RM part, the statistical approach, how to start even, how to frame the topic, and they are forced to conduct research. So that leads to the poor quality of research. And then, unfortunately, poor industry and academia linkages. Even today's speakers also highlighted on the same point that the academicians, they lack the interaction with the industry, and that's why the research paper are not in a position to talk about the actual problems which industry are facing. And fifth is less importance on application oriented, again, which is the result of poor academia and industry linkages. These are the major factors which leads to poor quality research paper and which actually affects the purpose of conducting research. This model I have tested, and statistically the figures are up to the expectation and the model is being validated. If you look at the figures. Yes, please. The data analysis, again, these are the data part wherein I have found out the Cronbach alpha, the reliability statistic, instrumental reliability I have calculated, composite reliability I have calculated. The first hypothesis was deterrent for publication leads to poor quality research paper. This was accepted by using multiple regression model. The second hypothesis was again the deterrent for quality publication affects preference of publication by applying multiple regression. This was accepted. And the third is the purpose to conduct research affect factors that promote quality research. Here, this hypothesis was rejected when I have applied the multiple regression model. To conclude, I would like to again show 2 of the very important graph wherein the first highlight about the purpose of conducting research, why the faculty members are doing research is for better career opportunity is the first factors which they take into consideration, followed by the recognition from the supervisor and for self-development. Now here lies the contradiction that if you are doing the research for self-development, then how come actually you are going for say fraudulent practices journals or say fast track publications and all that. So this thing doesn't match with the purpose what they have highlighted over here. Second is the preference of publication. Unfortunately, if you look at the figures, rapid publication is one of the highlight point over here, followed by UGC Care Journal. Again, why people are preferring UGC Care Journal is the list is comparatively having less turbulence. If you take into consideration the Scopus list or Web of Science list, wherein every day and day night the journals are getting removed. And on top of it, the journals are charging exorbitant price, the matter of concern for almost everyone of us. So these are the factors. And to have a quick suggestions what can be done, the practical implementation. There is a need of an hour to create high level of awareness among the faculty members to understand the quality research. Number 2, to have some kind of say training with respect to how to identify the fraudulent journals, how to prevent from getting tapped into such kind of practices. Then proper guidance and mentoring should be done to the faculty members to help them understand the selection of topic and how to create the industry and academia linkages, giving them ample opportunity to get into the industry and interacting with people to know what are the problems which are prevailing in the industry, to help the faculty members by say contributing in the article processing charges at least partly, so that they will be motivated enough. then in order to contribute towards society through research activity, the academician should have proper linkage. So that's all, sir. This is the last slide which I had, and the part is incentivization of practically applicable research should be encouraged by the institutions. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you. Yeah. Any question, ma'am?
No time for the question answer because already we are, you have taken extra time. Yeah, 10 minutes almost.
Shall I start? Good evening, everyone. And here my topic of the title of the paper, language game in the era of digital learning. After the COVID, we are gathered here in this audience, in this premises to present or do some research to talk about the research activities. So within this particular period, we find that we people have faced lots of problems, and particularly the teachers who is teaching language, they face the lots of difficulties how to teach them the language. So within this domain, I am going to present this paper. I am Om Chaudhary as a co-author of this paper, and Dr. Shailendra Kumar along with Dr. Shailendra Kumar. So here. Please write. Which one? This one? Okay. So here are the few definitions of this about the language. So we having this language family, we have the 5 language families, and within the families we have the 120 languages, and mostly 22 languages are scheduled in our constitutions. So these languages, the particular definition of this language can be defined in one language, a system of code. And second about this language, the adversarial. The language is purely human and non-instinctive method of communicating ideas, emotions, desire, thought system, voluntarily produce sounds adversarial. So within this domain, within this definition, we find as human and non-instinctive method of communication. With this, we use these words, we use the sound to communicate with each other. And here, this language is the principal system of communication. Yes, ma'am. So language are principal systems of communication used by particular groups of human beings within this particular society of which they are members. Now this word is a human community or human being. It means they're talking about this gather. We are surrounded here. We use this language to communicate with each other. So another definition, the language principal system communication used by a particular group of human beings with a particular society with their members. So here within this definition, I want to add some about this one definition. Within the definition, we talk about this human language that is instinctive, that's in our brain. Okay, the Chomsky said that. So we having the capacity to learn the language that are non-grammatical rules. Now this dialect, the most important fact. Because dialect, the standard of language to consist of dialect. Dialect are mutually intelligible to each other. Dialect, that means the language we use to communicate within the particular geographical area, gender-wise, status-wise, So that language that gives us a status. Now, within this, we're talking about into particular domain of national education policy. How national education policy, they give us a justify about this kind of languages. So this language education policy, so here that language education policy marks had this attitude, ideas their mind, and they handle the language issues very carefully to promote the mother tongue simultaneously. Now, this is Indo-Aryan language family, this Dravidian language family, Austro-Asiatic language family, the Tibeto-Burman language family, and the Maya language family. Now, see, when we go to this the census data 2011, we find this within this 2000 census data, near about this 94, 90 something like that. Data means the languages that count in endangered languages, 94 languages that count in endangered languages. And UNESCO also publishes the data. They're talking about these languages that's going to die. How it's presented. Yeah. Yeah. Fine. No, okay, fine. Yeah, fine. This national education policy, for the first time in the history of India, the view of about 2.5 lakhs gram panchayat and 6,600 blocks and 650 districts were taken for framing the education policy. That's most important factor in this education policy. They counted these languages. This national education policy 2020 gives the proper focus on language issues, especially to the mother tongue, right from primary education to the higher education. And the language issues have been addressed by carefully under the heading multilingualism and the power of language from paragraph 4.11 to 4.22 from National Education Policy. The importance of language, connecting language with art, culture, discussed in the para 22 and 4 of National Education Policy. This cultural aspect is the most important factors here, because within this, we find these tribal languages, they have their own culture, but they couldn't represent on the world level on some another stages. So the importance of language connecting language with art and culture discussed in para 22.4, the National Education 2020. The UNESCO has declared 197 languages as endangered language. So around 100 to this 197 languages, endangered languages, are from these tribal areas of the northeastern region of India. Along with the three language policy, emphasize utilization of the national education as a teaching medium up to 5. The kids, unfortunately, it has been drawn due to agitation from southern states. This the teaching about this language in our mother tongue, it's the most important factor. As we are aware, we learn this, we learn still yet here with the help of our mother tongue. And here, these language games. So the most important factor, this language, and how this language game that help us to enhance the language competency. So here we must have we're having the lots of language apps. We have the lots of language apps. We have the lots of games like sentence completion, quiz competition. This kind of games we're having. We're having the lots of digital games like about the Skippy and another apps. With the help of that apps, we learn this language. But the basic problem is that here we are going to address here. So we have to customize such kind of apps that can that with the help of these apps we can learn our mother tongue. Okay, so if I want to learn any another another Indian language, we have a particular app. Even though in our, if I want to learn the particular foreigner who or she wants to learn in Marathi language, there is no such kind of digital apps. So within this app, now for example, जसं की आपण म्हणू शकतो की राम आंबा खातो किंवा ट्रक जात आहे. So we use this translation method to teach the students. While teaching, we use the grammar translation methods. We use with the help of computer assisted language learning technology. So this kind of tools, when we manipulate or when we customize such kind of tools, that tools help us to teach the students. Now, this the NEP. Here are the concluding remarks. The NEP 2020 clearly states that unfortunately Indian languages have not received proper attention and care, under which the country has lost 220 languages in the last 50 years. The NEP 2020 has brought the concept of Indian Institute of Translation Interpretation, which will work with the aim of translate and interpret the text from various fields. The NEP 2020 proposed early implementation of three language formulas to promote multilingualism from the school level The policy says that the three-language formula will be applied to the need to promote constitutional provision, people, territories, union aspiration to promote multilingualism as well as our national unity. Yeah, fine. Now see the last one point. In the digital blended learning, the teaching era, this is the need to of our need of the hour. Experts should take references from available e-resources and they should develop the quality language game from Indian language as well. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, anyone? Please. Please.
They can ask. Anybody want?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, right, ma'am. You are right. But here, the few languages that haven't a particular translator script there, there is no translator. If you go through the tribal area, okay, there is no kind of there is no kind of such kind of data available on the Google. Okay, even though in our Marathi also, the particular we might be aware about these few words, the Korsa, Domra, this kind of words. And if you type this word Google Translate, we couldn't get the result. Okay, within our Marathi language, we also have some another words that we couldn't find on the Google. So, and if I want to teach the students, so this kind of learning apps, this kind of learning games, that helps them.
Okay, my query is that what kind of game you want to propose through this your research paper?
The particular
What kind of game?
yeah,
I
the
mean,
translation, use the crossword, this kind of games. If you go to the Skippy app, one is Skippy app, with the help of the app, we can learn English language. There we find the speeches are there, phrasal verbs are there. So they give us the sentence, and within the sentence we have to put the particular word that completes the meaning. So we can develop such kind of apps. Yeah, we are promoting to use the such kind of digital apps, or maybe we have to promote the such kind of digital learning. Yeah, yeah, we are doing. We are doing. Means we are doing. We are compiling the lexicograph. We are doing the dictionary on the particular words. Yes. Particular some rural languages. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
में डालेगा. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rohan Thavre. I'm faculty from Ambedkar College, Diksharbhumi, Nagpur. I'm presenting my paper, Challenges and Solutions in the Innovative Pedagogical Approaches and Research Practices in Biotechnology Education. This review work is in collaboration with Dr. R.P. Shanware, Rajiv Gandhi Biotechnology Center, Rashtra Center, Nagpur University. So in this study, in this presentation, I will just focus on these three aspects. That is, what is the situation of biotechnology education in India? What are the challenges and solutions in applying the innovative pedagogical approaches and research practice in biotechnology educations? So the biotechnology educations, because of paucity of time, I'm moving a little bit faster. The DBT, Department of Biotechnology, was established in 1986. That is more than 36 years ago, under the aegis of Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Science and Technology. And this department was responsible for majority of the funding for the DBT or biotechnology work in the India, in the country. In Maharashtra, there are several private colleges which are conducting both UG and PG courses, but all these UGs and PG courses are under the permanent non-grant basis or self-financed basis. There are several public and private universities which are also conducting PG courses in the biotechnology. But among these public and private universities of Maharashtra, only 3 universities have been funded by DBT. Our own university was one of the last university, which was we were a 4th university, which we used to be funded by the DBT, but unfortunately we lost that due to some issues. Now, we all know that biotechnology, it has been booming in everybody, even a common man is knowing about the biotechnology word because of the corona pandemic. In corona pandemic, we have the opportunity to have a new kind of therapeutics called mRNA therapeutics, which is nothing but the fruit of biotechnology. We are talking about BT cottons and sages, BT brinjals we are talking about, and this is also the fruit of agri-biotech field. So that is the importance of the biotechnology. And next, I will go on challenges. These, as every other industry, biotech industry do also require talented and skilled humans to sustain itself and grow. There are more than 500 institutes which are developing these human resources in the country itself, and they are providing these talented and skilled human resources. But to provide these, they also require more talented and skilled teachers as well. These teachers who can inculcate innovative pedagogical approaches in their teaching and cutting edge research in their field. 4 major challenges I have identified in this particular paper. First is industrial academic gap, lacuna in curriculum and assessment of development for developing critical and creative thinking, low or no government funding, and few biotechnology industry and demotivating investors. Industry and academia gap are obvious. We in academia most of the times are ignorant of the industrial requirements. Inviting industry experts to teach maybe the solutions, but these industrial experts are not teachers. Lacuna for the second issue is regarding the curriculum and assessment, that there is complete ignorance for the Bloom's taxonomy, imbalance between technology and sciences, and retention of obsolete topics. The imbalance between technology and science is that the biology and technology are far, far away. Biology curriculum does not involve topics like evolution, genetics, and that's why these kind of ideas are not being inculcated in the syllabus. Then the retention of obsolete topics, the topics which are completely are not being used in industry nowadays, are still retaining into the syllabus itself. Then low or no government funding, in my opinion, this is the main root cause of this particular vicious cycle. This deliberately discourage the employment of talented youth, talented teacher in this particular field. And whatever the grants which are obtained by the government is only been used for the infrastructure and not for human resource development. So therefore, because of the no government funding, institutes conduct these courses with the help of biotech coordinator from other subjects and the CHB teachers. CHB teachers, as you all know, are just those students who have just recently passed and now they are teaching their juniors. These kind of teachers are being used deliberately, not just in biotech subjects, but across the faculties. This again leads to low quality knowledge and zero motivation among the students. This, which again leads to low quality research and zero patents of the institutions, and hence the conclusion comes to everybody and common man's people that there is no scope in this particular subject. Not just related to biotechnology, but there is the same thing with the engineering and other things also. Even if the regular teachers are being appointed by these so-called self-financed institutes, there is the different problem. Low payments plus more responsibility, you get frustrated individuals. And these frustrated individuals, you expect that they will be applying innovative pedagogical approaches when they are themselves are unable to apply even common pedagogical techniques. This can be easily understood. It is a common sense. It does not required anything new to identify, but it is around us everywhere. That when the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when the bottom of the pyramid has been not satisfied, how you are going to satisfy the top of the pyramid. A simple experiment done by Franz de Waal's experiment shows that when the monkeys are paid unequally, they become angry. You can see this experiment on the TED Talks. I'm not going to go in detail because of the lack of time. But this, when the monkeys are also not satisfied with the unequal payment, how you are expecting from the Homo sapiens sapiens. This is the picture of that particular experiment. Now, the last point is the last challenge is the few biotechnology industries and in the field and demotivated investors. I'll be talking about in the solution itself. So to solve the first solution, what I suggest is that the industry and to fill up the industry and academia gap, the first is to more organized and symbiotic industry and academia interaction should be organized. I deliberately used symbiotic here because the symbiotic word in biology refers to that both of the parties are being benefited. The industry should be also be benefited by the academics, and the academic should also be benefited by the industries. Train these teachers in industry interactions, because the industry person will not going to be there for a longer period of time, but the teacher is going to be there with the students for a longer period of time. So that is also a one requirement. And the last is real industry visits. Just on the name of industrial visit, we are taking our students to botanical parks and calling it an industrial visit, which is nothing but a picnic. Then the second point, which is most important, which is one of the important, is that the lacuna in curriculum and assessment, where the brainstorming of the to develop the appropriate curriculum is very much required. This brainstorming must include all the stakeholders into the curriculum development. Stakeholders means industry, academia, students, parents, as well as the administration. Yes, sir. They must inculcate the Bloom's taxonomy. Whenever your teachers are sitting for deciding the curriculum of a particular subjects, put the Bloom's taxonomy in front of you and draw according to it. Centralization of assessment, just giving the colleges responsibilities or institutes responsibilities for assessment of final assessment is not going to solve the issues. They are rather creating the new kind of issues. You may be the honest one, but other people may not. This is the particular picture which is showing that verbs and objects which can be used for the designing of the curriculum. This is being used by several institutes which are already autonomous, but we are still behind this. Now, the fourth solution, this may lead to a huge or little bit larger of curriculum as well as a difficult assessment. And to tackle this difficult assessment and this kind of curriculum, these new innovative pedagogical, for few of these new innovative pedagogical techniques can be used. One of this is research-based pedagogical techniques. This has been used by the ICER Pune people, and it has been inculcated in several private institutes. Problem-based learning, group discussion and personal interview, internships, flipped classroom is one of the wonderful tools. If used with a proper way, it can be a very powerful tool to inculcate state-of-art knowledge among the students. MOOCs and others and SWAYAM platforms are no new to us. Low government funding, at least partial government funding should be given to encourage the teacher employment. Yes, sir. One last point I would like to put, because of the funding, this is once the initial investment is done by the government, as soon as the teachers are starting producing the patents, these patents can be shared by the institute itself. The shares, whatever the monetary gain are being taken by the are earned by these patents, can be shared with the institutes itself in order to fulfill the fundings of the institutes themselves. The legal fraternity of the colleges and institutes can also help to fight the patents related problems, which reduce the cost of all this research and development. And this all encourage the investors to take up the part into the studies. Last but not the least, the biggest tool among the students and among the teachers and among the universities is the feedback tool. We should always encourage honest feedback from all the sectors, all the stakeholders. And in conclusion, I just suggest that one thing that we need to develop a proper ecological situation for this particular education system. And we should stay away with the two very problematic words in which have done lots of harm for the subjects like biotechnology. One is permanent non-grant and another is ad hoc. These two words have destroyed or have stopped these subjects to help people in this particular state. These are a few of my reference. That's all. Thank you very much.
Good evening to all. Here I am presenting my research work about the collaborative learning and the community partnership, where these are the content of my given research. Starting with the aim that we have the collaboration as well as the community partnership. With the help of that, we are building a new education system which is more useful than our conventional. So these are the objectives we are getting fulfilling. That is, the first one is the participation in tutorials and lecture, both from the community side as well as the lecture side. Next one is working on the real world problem, which is really necessary in this era to solve the real world problem. Next one is problem solving with the help of the small groups, and peer evaluation and the self-evaluation, which is the most important thing that we have to do in today's era of researching or taking any kind of lectures or doing anything, any works. So working with the integrated learning system. Now, just knowing that what is actually the collaborative learning is, it is a learning into the group section, dividing the work into the group section. Next one is, what is exactly the community partnership? It is the involvement of the highly specialized person in your group and getting advice or getting research or following your work on the basis of their experiences and their knowledge. Now, few of the strategies. So few of the strategies that using for the building such kind of model, that is in collaborative learning, they building a relationship between students and organization, accessing the real world problem, allowing the problem to solve them, and then evaluating student on the base of their work. Next one is a community partnership. It is a connecting the leader and that particular group with the researcher and the specialized people from the society, building a relationship and strengthening their relationship bond, ensuring the screening and references protocols of given their work. Now, these are few of the what we can say advantages we will get after collaborating and getting community partnership in your study. That is an internship, interacting with different organizations as well as understanding the problems, creating ideas and getting interdependent, apprising tasks and developing positive independence, group processing, and understanding individual responsibility as well as planning action and solving the different problems. Now, these are the method which we are used to build a particular kind of strategies in our system. We started with the university, as university should have their own vision and their own criteria to develop a particular student in particular section. Next one is what exactly quality should that student should need it, that they should know about what exactly the problem is in the society, how they can develop their own skills. Next one is developing interaction in between the community and that particular student section. Next one is what exactly the community do is, community help to connect this real world problem toward the student, giving them ability to see this problem in the particular society. They can share their experiences with the student and having ability to get access that particular experience and use their experience as working in the research part. Next one is what exactly the community and student interaction brings us. That is the interaction in between the solving the real world problem, and next one is developing the skill among the students. What exactly university and community can build with itself, that is evaluating student on the basis of their actual work and giving their assignments, and also helping the student for their futuristic aspect, which is actually needed in today's learning era. Okay, now these are the workflow given by the different kind of researcher. I have designed this workflow. The first of all, designing of syllabus. So basically, we have seen the design of syllabus has only been taken by the teachers only, or we can say university people. But this is not should happen. It should be contributed by both sections, that is industrial purpose as well as the teachers. Next one is a work assignment. It should be contributed by both sections by giving them presentations, by giving them real-time project works. Okay, so next one is evaluation. Now, also the evaluation also based on the both section that the teacher are evaluating the skill, what actually they are gaining from that particular projects, and what actually skill, which skill is developed in that particular person, and how is tackling the problem that should be analyzed by the different organizations and different industries or other different peoples who are specialized in that particular skill. Now, these are the conclusion. The entire conclusion of this research has been seen that we need to develop a student with a greater skill, having a greater interaction in between societies, and enhancing the student satisfaction in the learning experiences, giving them the higher communication skill, having a positive attitude skill, and many more. Now, these are the few references which I use for this particular kind of researchers. Now, ending my this presentation with a beautiful quote, which has an education system is worth a great deal if teaches young people how to make a living, but doesn't teach how them to make a life. And one more thing that we have seen the 3 Idiot movie. So in that particular 3 Idiot movie, we have a character of that virus that is a special. He is a principal of that school, that engineering college. At the end of the day, we always end up like that, being that the virus with the character in day-to-day life. But actually, we want a Funsuk Wangdu character in our life that we should learn or we should get experiences with the help of day-to-day life problem solving, as well as getting a joy of doing something or doing any kind of project in our life. Thank you so much. Any question? Yes. 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 Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
Present at 9 o'clock. One of session start 9 o'clock and breakfast at 10:30. Present at 10:30.
Tomorrow we are starting very early. 8:30 breakfast will be served, very tasty breakfast. So all of you are requested to be present at 8:30 tomorrow. And there will be rescheduling of the paper presentation sessions. So that reschedule program for tomorrow we will upload again in the group. Paper presentations will be mostly at from 11:10 to 12:10, in between that 1 hour. And rest of the technical sessions, rest of the plenary sessions, we will postpone it a little bit because of some technical problem. Now, those people who have displayed their posters, please go to your posters. Experts will come there. We'll finish it quickly. Thank you so much.